subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Finks could not move his whole body and could only stand there and cheer. However, although he had completely mastered the situation, but Phaeton's expression did not relax at all. His eyes scanned the surroundings vigilantly, and he became more nervous. Finks finally realized that something was wrong. Damn, when did Paklotan disappear? New book release. Please give flowers, please give evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 21. Phantom Troop. There is no escape for you. The whole dune was silent, with only the rustling of the breeze. This strange silence made Finks and Phaeton's heartbeats more rapid. As they thought, in the dark, Killua heard Tongzi's voice in his ears. Ding, lootable items detected. Leech, blue top grade. Body hair needle, purple lower level. Underground action ability, purple upper level. Do you want to loot? Yes/no? Hear the system prompt sound. Killua glanced at the 3 items. Leech, blue top grade, you can keep leeches in your body to treat diseases or make people sick. Body hair needle, purple lower level, you can freely control your own body hair, which can be made longer, harder, or softer at will. When it is hard, it has strong piercing power, and when it is soft, it can be as elastic as a spring, which can resist various attacks. Underground action, purple upgrade, move freely underground, and exert several times more power in the soil than on the ground. Looking at the ability introduction, Killua first ruled out Leech. Keeping so many disgusting things in the body made him feel uncomfortable. Even if he took another look at the description of the Leech ability, he would be polluted by the disgusting picture. Secondly, that hair needle is not very useful. Use body hair to attack. Not only do you need to fight the opponent at close range, and it seems to bind the opponent, but it also binds yourself. Then there is only one left. Underground action, purple upgrade. Conduct entry plunder. This entry, Killua is still very interested. Being able to move freely underground and the power exerted in the soil is several times stronger than on the ground. This ability can be an excellent means of winning by surprise. It is perfect for a sneak attack in the deep pit of the sand dunes. Could there be other beasts? Where are these damn guys hiding? Having seen the strange abilities of earthworms, sick dogs, porcupines, and others, Finks was extremely alert, staring at the surroundings, not daring to miss any subtle movement. No matter what, we must find Paklotan. Phaeton's face was also terribly gloomy, and his voice was cold and resolute. He looked at the sick dog who was still alive, and perhaps to force the question, or just because the other party was too tall, he kicked its left leg and broke it, making it kneel on one leg. I will only ask each question once. The first question is, how many people will you send out in total? 3, 2, 1. Phaeton's voice became colder with each number he read. Then there was a crisp click. Phaeton suddenly raised his foot and kicked the sick dog's right leg hard with lightning speed. The sound of bone cracking was particularly clear in the silent sand dunes. The sick dog trembled violently, and its body was uncontrollably kneeling on the sand, and it couldn't help but howl in pain. The second question is, in addition to the beast members, do you have other helpers? Phaeton asked again with a blank expression. But even if all his limbs were disabled and he was almost exhausted, the sick dog still had a trace of disdainful sneer on his mouth, and even turned his head and spit a mouthful of blood foam on Phaeton. You self-righteous BD, don't dream. In my eyes, you are just a scumbag. I won't tell you any information. Just kill me. Seeing that his favorite coat was actually stuck with filth, Phaeton's face was instantly gloomy and terrifying. His eyes were full of anger and murderous intent, and then he smiled fiercely as if he heard the funniest joke in the world. Want to die? It's not that easy. Death is a pity for you, and I will make you want to live, but not die. Phaeton's mouth began to reveal a creepy and cruel smile. The red umbrella in his hand was like a devil's fang, constantly leaving bloody marks on the sick dog. "You devil. If you have the guts, give me a quick death." The sick dog's body trembled violently, and a painful whimper came out of its throat. Phaeton was unmoved, with a cruel smile on his face, even revealing excitement. "Ha ha. Quick death? You can't expect it from me." He finished speaking. He raised his foot again, stepped heavily on the bloody wound of the sick dog, and crushed it hard. But at this moment, a pair of arms suddenly stretched out from the ground and grabbed Phaeton's left arm. It was Killua. Killua's strength was far beyond that of ordinary people, and after being blessed several times by underground action, his strength reached a daunting level. Phaeton was caught off guard, and the whole person was suddenly pulled down by the huge force and fell heavily to the ground and couldn't get up. Seeing this scene, Fink's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. "How is this possible? I just killed that earthworm BD. What the hell is going on?" However, he was responded to by an equally cold voice. 10 times the discharge. "I got up late, so I'll post one chapter first. New book release. Please give me flowers. Please give me evaluation votes. And I have monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading books every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 22. Ruthless Deprivation. Complete strangulation and desperate counterattack. 10 times the discharge." The next moment, I saw dazzling currents burst out from Killua's hands, like a winding silver snake, instantly entwining Phaeton's body. "Ah!" Phaeton let out a heart-wrenching scream of pain, his body trembling violently under the strong current impact, and his skin quickly began to show large patches of charred marks, emitting a pungent burnt smell. Between life and death, Phaeton showed extraordinary calmness and rationality. He was cold and cruel to others, and even more cruel to himself, raising the sharp red umbrella in his hand without hesitation. The knife fell, cut off his left arm directly. Then he covered the wound tightly with his other hand to stop the blood from flowing, and retreated to a higher place at a very fast speed, intending to keep a certain safe distance from the ground first. But just as he jumped into the air, Killua came in front of him. In the brigade, Phaeton is best at speed, and his maximum speed can even reach 150 kilometers per hour. But Killua's super speed, through lightning, activates his cells and has surpassed the human body's maximum speed. The speed is over 300 kilometers per hour. Converted to seconds, it is 86 meters per second. "It turns out to be you, little brat." Phaeton and Finks recognized Killua at the same time. One day ago, they had met once in Ukexin. At that time, they glanced at him casually and didn't take him to heart anymore. Who would have thought? The gears of fate turned quietly inadvertently, and now they met again in this situation, and they even had such a powerful power. And Killua didn't say anything nonsense at all. His right hand became a knife, and he went straight to Phaeton's chest to dig out his heart. But Phaeton is worthy of being a top killer. He used heart in advance to gather all the energy in his body at the heart position and blocked this hand knife. Heart is an advanced application skill that combines the 5 skills of entanglement, absolute, practice, discharge, and condensation. It can exert a defense effect far beyond tough. Of course, compared to tough, which can defend the whole body, the disadvantage of tough is that except for the main place where the key is condensed, the rest of the body will be defenseless. "Snake alive!" Killua roared, using advanced assassination techniques, and his arms and hand knives shook rapidly at a dazzling speed. Phaeton wanted to dodge, but the paralysis and stiffness caused by the strong electric current made his body absolutely slow. Swish, swish, swish. A series of illusory afterimages flashed by like lightning, instantly crushing the only remaining right arm. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Where did this kid come from? Phaeton's flow speed couldn't keep up with his movements at all. Finks was anxious, but his whole body was infected with the sick dog neurotoxin, and he couldn't move at all. Phaeton fell heavily to the ground like a felled tree trunk, splashing a cloud of dust. But at the same time, a large amount of ki was materialized into a coat that wrapped his whole body. This is Phaeton's nun, unforgivable sinner. Using the wounded ki as the activation condition, the reversed words as the guidance constraint and oath. Suffer all the pain. Use the burning flame to attack indiscriminately in a large area. However, the tragedy is, Phaeton just started to guide. Killua appeared in front of him at an incredible speed and paralyzed him with lightning. Phaeton kept shaking under the impact of lightning. His facial features twisted with pain, and he was completely unable to guide Nin normally. It's useless. I can take away all your freedom now. Killua quickly suppressed Phaeton with overwhelming strength and speed. Then a large amount of electricity gathered in his right hand. This is the advanced version of the radiation type, Move Thunderball Laser Beam. Boom! Phaeton didn't have time to react at all. His heart was directly pierced by the beam, and he couldn't die anymore. A hole! Finks roared, his eyes bloodshot and his voice full of murderous intent. Unfortunately, he was no different from a lamb to be slaughtered. Now it's your turn. Killua walked towards Finks expressionlessly. But at this moment, an extremely strong and evil aura suddenly appeared behind him. Killua turned around. He found that Phaeton, whose heart was pierced, stood up again, muttering something. Damn it! I will give you all the pain. Die I will. The next moment, a large amount of aura condensed into a bullet at an incredible speed. After the bullet rose to the top of Phaeton's head, it suddenly expanded rapidly and turned into a dazzling and brilliant miniature sun. And then, boom! A deafening and earth-shattering roar was heard. The hot flames spread wildly around with a micro-sun as the center, like surging waves. The grass and trees burned instantly, and the boulders turned to ashes. The sick dog and Finks were also engulfed by the flames. Everything around was destroyed beyond recognition by this terrible force. The author likes to listen to every reader's evaluation. Anyway, the book has just been published. Directly delete chapters and modify them. Don't worry, brothers. New book release. Please ask for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Read books every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 to get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 23. Thunder Armor Backup Energy. Pikachu. After the hot flame shock wave dissipated, the entire Gao Desert seemed to have experienced a doomsday catastrophe. In the middle of the sand dunes, the sick dog was completely reduced to ashes. Fink's whole body was also burned, but he was far away from Phaeton. In addition, he used all his body's ki to wrap around his head at the last moment, and he still had his last breath. After the heart stops beating, some people's brains will still retain thoughts for 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And his situation is even more tragic, with only 30 seconds left to live. That's afterlife. Phaeton, if I were you, I would also be haunted. But in the end, you won. Finks was about to close his eyes. However, just when he thought everything was over, a figure wrapped in lightning suddenly took off the head of Afterlife Phaeton. Then Killua appeared. How is it possible? Although Finks only had his head left, but he could still use ki to feel the changes around him. Killua twisted Phaeton's body to make sure there was no chance of resurrection before he sighed. It turned out to be the thought after death. I didn't expect that I would encounter such a thing. The thought after death. Because of the existence of restriction and oath, although the nun has died tragically. But if there is still strong reluctance and hatred after death with such a strong will, none has a chance not to disappear after death, and may make the nun stronger because of the thought. Fortunately, I still have a backup in Pikachu. Killua looked at his shoulder. At this time, on his shoulder stood a creature with yellow fur, 2 brown stripes on its back, pink cheeks, and a tail with jagged lightning. The creature blinked its big round eyes, revealing a hint of agility and cuteness in its eyes. Pika, Pika. After the first battle with Zeno, Killua thought, what if there is a problem of temporary power outage in the future? In addition to constantly improving your nun and storing power, The most important thing is to have a charger that can be used at any time. The first thing Killua thought of at that time was Pikachu. And during those 3 months of training, Killua really used the ability of Manipulator to create things out of thin air and materialize Pikachu. According to the materialization feature, none can make materialized items achieve some none effects according to their own oaths and constraints. Just like Nion never fortune tells for herself, and never reads her own prophecy poems to make the predictions more accurate. Killua only wanted to materialize a charger at the beginning. So Pikachu only has the function of storing and charging electricity, and does not have the ability to actively attack others. This may also be a kind of oath and constraint. In addition to Pikachu, in order to resist Phaeton's final counterattack, Killua also showed his second hidden killer move, Thunder Armor Enhancer. This is another result of his previous 3 months of training. Super Speed is to wrap the power of thunder and lightning in the body, thereby increasing one's ultimate movement speed to the limit. And Thunder Armor uses lightning to wrap around muscle cells, forcibly stimulating the muscles to repair continuously, so that you can gain terrifying resistance and repair capabilities. And just now, he was able to resist the burning because of the continuous high power blessing of Thunder Armor and Pikachu. Thanks to you this time, Pikachu. Killua rubbed Pikachu's fur. Pikachu seemed to have life, rubbing Killua's silver hair with its little head and making a cheerful pika-pika sound. Only 10 seconds were left. Finks had no time to think about why Killua didn't die. With his last breath, he asked the last question softly. Did Peckleton die in your hands? Killua nodded and answered calmly. In this chaotic world, everyone will have this day, right? Got the exact answer. Fink's eyes were completely dim. When people are dying, they always look back on some past events. This is also called the revolving lantern before death. At this moment, Finks recalled the past, recalling the past when he was still in Meteor City. In that chaotic and cruel place, he struggled to survive. He also recalled the promise of all the Phantom Troop people to be together. Those days of fighting side by side and being free and unrestrained seemed to be right in front of him. He had no regrets. After all, his hands were stained with blood, and he had committed many crimes. He just didn't expect that this day would come so soon. This shouldn't be my ending. Goodbye, Captain. Fink's breath was getting weaker and weaker. His consciousness gradually blurred with his vision and finally fell into darkness. Although Finks was dead, Killua's eyes were firm and cold, and he quickly stepped forward to finish off the enemy and crushed his remaining head with one foot. Afterlife. This ability was too dangerous, and such a thing must never happen again. Make sure Finks is completely dead. Killua took back Pikachu and began to scan the fallen entries around to harvest them. At this time, there were 3 entries around. Unforgivable, Sunburn, Orange lower level use thoughts to create a small sun, and use the unforgivable protective suit to protect yourself. When the sun explodes, all living things around will be burned to death. The power of the move refers to the degree of damage you suffer. Return to Heaven, Orange lower level condensing the ki on the arm. The more the arm rotates, the greater the punching force, which can break the limit of your own ki to a certain extent. Venomous Fong. Purple lower level strengthen your teeth, and at the same time, you can hide neurotoxins in your teeth to attack the enemy. Finks' return to heaven needs to be charged in advance. Phaeton's Unforgivable not only requires chanting time, but also requires yourself to suffer damage. Although these 2 items have full damage, but both have certain disadvantages. Whatever you say, plunder first, maybe use it later. As for the disadvantages of Poisonous Fangs, there are too many, just ignore them. Killua thought briefly and confirmed. System, Unforgivable person. Burning by the sun, Orange lower level. Return to Heaven, Orange lower level. To plunder. The next moment, 2 orange lights instantly merged into Killua's body. Work overtime to delete chapters and modify them directly. No more words, brothers. Please give me flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 24. Taking inventory of the goods, the Zoldyck brothers arrive. The bodies of Phaeton and Finks were cleaned up. Killua took the red umbrella that Phaeton had hidden in his fireproof suit and had not been burned and took it away as evidence. Then he quickly changed his place and pulled out a black wrap, from which a beautiful figure was released. It was Paklotn. From the beginning of this battle until the end of Phaeton's life, Killua had no time to deal with Paklotn. He deliberately concealed the fact that Paklotn was dead just now, in order to make Finks completely despair, to avoid the thought of death. At the same time, incredibly convenient large wrap can not only capture living people. The senses of the bound person will not be blocked, and even in the wrap, he can still feel everything happening in the outside world very clearly. In other words, from Finks being besieged and poisoned by the three Een beasts to the final two being killed by Killua. Every detail of the whole process. Paklotn knows it clearly. Killua said without further ado, "You should know the situation now. Two choices. Submit to me or die." Paklotn's forehead was covered with beads of sweat. Even though she was usually calm, her eyes were full of panic and struggle at this moment. She knew that Killua was not joking or bluffing, and she knew that her life and death were now just a matter of thought. Paklotn's lips trembled, and she was struggling fiercely in her heart. Time seemed to freeze, and the air around her became extremely heavy. For a long time, Paklotn took a deep breath and finally spoke with difficulty, as if she had used up all her strength. "Kill me." She wanted to live, but in her heart, betraying the brigade meant losing herself and abandoning the beliefs and principles she had once adhered to. That was the most precious thing in her soul. Compared to living without beliefs, she would rather choose to die with beliefs. Killua was not surprised, and there was a hint of admiration in his eyes. Those who can stand firm in their beliefs in the face of life and death are not ordinary people. But he still raised his hand slowly. "After tonight. Not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow. One day, the other members of Phantom Troop will find out what happened today. In this world, every battle is a contest of either you die or I die. Carelessness and mercy mean playing with life. Killua will never choose to let the tiger go back to the mountain. Goodbye." A flash of lightning passed by. Paklotn's heart was directly pierced by Tong Laiki, and his body fell softly, and his life ended at this moment. Ding, lootable entry detected. Memory reading, purple top. Do you want to loot? Yes/no? Memory reading. Purple top as long as you touch the other person's body and ask questions. You can read their memory, and it is the purest and original memory in people's hearts, without any possibility of deception. Choose looting. Killua cleaned up Paklotn's body, without any nostalgia, turned around, and disappeared into the darkness. The night was getting deeper. Darkness enveloped everything. Only the sand underfoot and the occasional cold wind told of the thrilling night. On the way back to Ukexin, Killua began to count all the goods he had received tonight. Let's start with the entries. First, the Super Travel Backpack. Incredible convenient large wrap, purple top level. Next is Underground Action, purple top level, Unforgivable Sin. Burning by the Sun, orange lower level. Return to Heaven, orange lower level. Finally, there is Memory Reading, purple top level, which can be used to spy on the opponent's heart. In just one night, he got 5 top entries. In addition, there are auction items worth tens of billions. Killua has always been calm, but it is difficult to endure the excitement in his heart at this time. He knows what these gains mean. The auction items worth tens of billions alone are the wealth that countless people dream of. 5 ability entries. It also contains powerful power and infinite possibilities. It's terrifying. This is just plundering 5 entries. What if it's 50 or 500? Killua himself couldn't help but take a breath. He didn't dwell on this issue too much. Naturally, the stronger his strength is, the better. Only in this way can you absolutely control your own destiny and fate in every chaos. Ukexin. After the 10 old men learned the information on the scene, they immediately started an emergency meeting. As for Nion, she had been sent back to the Bachita Hotel by the gang to rest. Outside the guest room, Syakemono had a serious expression and looked around vigilantly. Skavara also used the dog to capture the surrounding movements at all times. Both of them dared not slack off now. "Do you think that the silver-haired boy just now can succeed?" Skavara suddenly asked. Syakemono recalled the previous scene and sweated. "I really hope he can succeed. But reason and reality tell me, even with the Eem beast, it's hard for me to imagine the death of the three demons." The previous auction site was in chaos. Syakemono witnessed the brutality of Phaeton and the three slaughtering the gangsters, and also witnessed the horror of Dazoni being killed instantly. The bloody and brutal scene still flashes in his mind. Skavara also subconsciously trembled a little. The strength of those people is too terrifying. We can't compete with them at all. Although the silver-haired boy looks a little different, facing such a demon, it really makes people dare not hold too much hope. After tonight, I'm also going to resign and retire. This job is still not suitable for me. While the two chatted, Skavara's intelligence dogs suddenly tucked their tails and began to hum low in their mouths. Skavara's heart tightened. Syakemono also noticed something strange. What's going on? Then, they saw a tall and strange man with a kimono boy who was as delicate as a porcelain doll and could not tell the gender. The man's face was full of steel needles, and his voice was so cold that it made people shudder. He said, "Excuse me, is Killua here?" "Okay. The previous plot has been completely modified. It's time to go to bed. New book release. Please give flowers. Please give evaluation tickets. And there are monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 25. Ilmi, if you keep pretending to be awesome, I'll kill you." Looking at the two uninvited guests, an ominous premonition surged in Skavara's heart. He didn't know where the other party came from, nor did he know the other party's purpose, so he could only shake his head and said, "I don't know who Killua you were talking about. There is no such person here." Just after saying this, Skavara immediately swallowed nervously, because he found that the man with steel needles stuck in his face was still standing there quietly. His pupils, as deep as black holes, seemed to be able to penetrate all obstacles, making people dare not look directly at them. And these two people are naturally Zoldyck's eldest son, Ilmi, who has disguised his appearance, and Zoldyck's youngest, Killua. "Brother, let's take a rest here for a while. After a long journey overnight, I am a little tired," Killua said. Ilmi nodded slightly, seeing the two turn around and prepare to leave. Skavara and Syakemono both breathed a sigh of relief. Whether Killua succeeds in hunting down Phantom Troop or not, he is considered a benefactor of their Nasra family. Before knowing where the other party came from, Skavara decided not to expose Killua's whereabouts. But at this moment, there was a click. The guest room was opened. It was Nion's personal maid, Arisa, who came out. "Skavara, Syakemono, who were you talking to just now? Miss asked me to ask, is Killua back?" Oops. Skavara's face turned pale in an instant. Syakemono also widened his eyes, secretly saying in his heart that it was not good. They never thought that Arisa would suddenly appear at this critical moment and ask such a question. The two people's brains were running fast, trying to come up with a reasonable explanation to deal with the situation in front of them. But just as they opened their mouths, the two suddenly found that the air around them seemed to solidify, and an invisible pressure made them almost breathless. The tall man with steel needles on his face, who gave people a very dull impression, stopped and turned around, slowly walking towards them. Every step he took forward, Skavara felt that breathing became increasingly difficult, as if an invisible force was squeezing his lungs. Every minute and every second seemed infinitely long. It was a kind of horror that could not be described in words unless he faced it in person. Skavara even felt that the aura of this strange man was similar to that of the three demons before. No, in terms of murderous aura, even more than them. At this moment, he had only one thought in his mind. Invincible, unstoppable, came to Skavara. Ilmi grabbed his throat with one hand like lightning pressed it against the wall, and raised a hideous smile at the corner of his lips. "So you know where Killua is." "Skavara." Zykemono suddenly tensed up, as if facing a great enemy. But he had just shouted. He was also pressed against the throat by a paper fan. Although Killua was shorter than him, his voice was just as cold and stern. "If you move again, I'll kill you." Arisa was so frightened that she fell to the ground, her face pale. "Let go, let me go." Skavara desperately bounced his legs, holding Ilmi's wrist tightly with both hands, trying to break free. But that hand was like steel. No matter how hard he pulled and twisted, it didn't move at all and couldn't be shaken at all. Feeling the unreachable gap, he wanted to calm down, but he couldn't do it. This feeling of powerlessness really hit the soul. "Please, let me go." Skavara squeezed out the last bit of pleading from the depths of his throat, and his voice began to become weak and hoarse. The body began to tremble uncontrollably, and his legs became weak as if they had lost their bones and could no longer support his weight. However, even so, Ilmi's face was still expressionless, and the hand that was pinching his throat showed no signs of loosening. Gradually, Skavara's face turned from red to blue, and breathing became extremely difficult. Every breath seemed to use up all his strength. "Enough. Put your hands down first." Suddenly, a voice came from outside the door. Ilmi raised his eyebrows slightly but did not turn around and exerted a little force on his hands. Skavara's eyeballs immediately bulged outward due to extreme lack of oxygen, and he was on the verge of death. Seeing this scene, the man who spoke outside the door quickly stepped forward. Then he stretched out his right hand and lightly pressed Ilmi's right hand. The next moment, it seemed that he had encountered some incomprehensible, strange situation. The stone bricks under Ilmi's feet suddenly shattered, and the sound of stone bricks breaking under his feet continued to make crackling sounds. All this showed that Ilmi was under unimaginable pressure. And the reason for all this, it was just that the young man gently stretched out his right hand. Ilmi turned his head and looked at the person who came. In his sight, it was the familiar silver hair and familiar appearance. It was Killua, third brother. Killula's eyes were full of surprise and excitement, and his face also bloomed with a rare sunny smile. Killua still looked calm, forcibly pulling Ilmi's right hand away, and his voice was calm. "I said, put your hand down first." Ilmi was stunned for a few seconds, although his face was as dull as a machine because of the steel needle. But his heart was very complicated. In addition to being shocked by Killua's current strength, there was also confusion about Killua's courage to attack him. "Killua, you dare to resist me?" Facing Ilmi's questioning, Killua was very calm. He raised his head slightly and looked directly into Ilmi's eyes. "If you keep talking nonsense, what's the harm in killing you?" There was no hesitation or fear in Killua's tone, and he exuded a powerful aura that people could not ignore. "I stayed up late to revise the previous article yesterday and just woke up. Asked for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading during the National Day holiday. Top up 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Top up now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 26. Brother, if you are not sure of victory, never attack rashly. Third brother. Listening to Killula's address to Killua, Skavara, who had just returned from the hands of the god of death, sat on the ground, breathing heavily, full of shock and confusion. He called Killua the third brother and called that guy the eldest brother. Doesn't that mean these three are brothers? Zykemono opened his mouth slightly and moved back and forth between Killua, Killua, and Ilmi with an unbelievable look, and the shock in his heart surged like a stormy wave. He never thought of it. Killua and Killua actually have such a relationship. But if they are brothers, what's the matter with this murderous atmosphere? The sudden change made Zykemono and others' already confused thoughts even more confused, and they were completely at a loss. The old man said that you not only pulled out the needles, but also made great progress in your practice. I didn't believe it at first, but it turned out to be true. Ilmi stared at Killua. His voice was low and steady, but in a flash, his tone contained anger and unquestionable majesty. But how many times have I said it? Murderous aura can only be released at the moment of killing. Before that, you must think of yourself as an object. And if you are not sure of winning, never attack rashly. Ilmi exuded a chilling sense of oppression, and his face full of steel needles began to twitch wildly because of anger. As the next generation of the head of the family, everyone in Zoldyck is building the family around Killua. Ilmi is the same. The reason why he has always wanted to control Killua is that his fundamental purpose is to promote Killua's growth and let him have the ability to be the head of the family as soon as possible. Although this method is a bit twisted and extreme, Killua's face did not change. You are free to say what you want to say, and I don't care what you want to do. But what I do is my freedom. Of course, you can try to control it. While speaking, Killua met Ilmi's gaze without fear. The two people's eyes met in the air, and the atmosphere was so tense that it seemed to spark a real flame. And Shachimono, Skavara, and others didn't even look directly at him. They just felt the collision of momentum from a distance, and they couldn't help shivering, feeling that their souls were trembling. Ilmi didn't say anything else. He pulled back half a step with his left foot, and his hands and feet suddenly exerted force, and the ground where his front and back feet stepped on suddenly collapsed into two small pits. The next moment, before others could react, Ilmi had already appeared in front of Killua, so fast that only a blurred afterimage was left in the air. Killua, let me see how you grow. Ilmi clenched his right fist, and his arm, which was much longer than that of an ordinary person, swung a round arc in the air and hit Killua's cheek directly. But what is shocking is that, facing this heavy punch with fierce wind pressure, which seems to be able to tear the air apart, Killua has many clever ways to deal with it, and his choice is to raise one arm to block it, not to mention others. Even Killua gasped at Killua's bold move. As the eldest son of Zoldyck, Ilmi is an absolute first-class master of the younger generation. He launched a full-strength attack. Except for Enhancer Nun, it is impossible to resist. Except for Mizumi Shiki, there are many ways to judge a person's Nun type. The simplest one is personality. The most typical feature of Enhancer is simple-minded and very simple. According to Kailuto's cognition, Killua is obviously not an Enhancer. There was a loud bang. Killua's arm collided with Ilmi's fist, and a strong airflow spread out around the two of them. But the next moment, Ilmi's pupils suddenly contracted, because Killua not only blocked his attack with one arm, but he didn't even take a step back. Killua, you've really grown up. Although it was from Zeno's mouth. Before Ilmi came, he already knew that his younger brother had grown amazingly. But when they really fought, he realized that Killua's actual strength was even better than he imagined. While Ilmi was sighing, Killua grabbed his brother's wrist with his backhand and said coldly, 10 times the discharge. The next moment, a strong electric current instantly burst out from Killua's hand and quickly spread throughout his body along Ilmi's wrist. Every member of the Zoldyck family has undergone various lightning resistance training since childhood. But Killua's electricity is fused with powerful Nun. It is completely different from the effect of ordinary electric shock. Zzzz. Although Ilmi didn't scream in pain like Phaeton, his body was shaking violently under the strong current shock. Taking advantage of the moment of stiffness and paralysis, Killua raised his leg and kicked Ilmi against the wall. The most important thing for Nun to fight is information warfare. Attacking the opponent face-to-face before knowing his ability is basically asking for trouble. Ilmi sat in the corner. Killua looked at him with the eyes of a superior. Once upon a time, the expressions and positions of the two were completely opposite. Killua's indifferent expression of looking down from a high place. It often appeared on Ilmi's face in the past. Now it can be said that the offense and defense are changed. Brother, your memory is really too bad. Killua looked down at Ilmi, sitting on the ground with an absolutely condescending look and taught with oppression. Didn't you just say it? Don't attack rashly when you are not sure of winning. New book release. Asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Read books every day and have fun on the 11th. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 27. Killua, I would be very happy if you were to kill me. Ilmi slowly stood up, patted the dust off his body, and looked surprisingly calm. But at this moment, the steel nails on his face had all disappeared. His beautiful big eyes were restored to their original state, and his weird hairstyle turned into long black straight hair. Can this guy change his appearance with a needle? What kind of monsters are these brothers? Xiachimano had already been numb by what was happening in front of him. Ilmi was not angry because of Killua's fight, but his face was full of admiration, sure enough. Killua, your qualifications are unprecedented even in the Zoldyck family. Zoldyck, hearing this name, not only Xiachimano and Skavara. There were some passers-by watching in the hotel, and all of them instantly broke out in sweat, and their bodies unconsciously retreated to escape. Zoldyck, it turns out that they are from the world's strongest assassination family. No wonder these guys are like monsters, although it is always said that someone outside offered 100 million to buy photos of Zoldyck members. But this is just a rumor. As the world's #1 assassination family, Zoldyck usually doesn't hide their identities. For example, everyone knows that they live in the Republic of Batokia, Dentora region, Kukula Mountain. Of course, there will be rumors of 100 million photos. The main reason is that many people who have seen them are dead. There are too many people here. Let's talk somewhere else. Killua glanced at Nion, whose eyes were only exposed through the crack in the door, and took Ilmi and Kaluto to a separate empty room. 2 questions. The first question, why are you here too? Killua asked his question directly. He didn't think that Ilmi and the others would happen to pass by Ukexin and appear at the Bachita Hotel. Too many coincidences, it becomes inevitable. Ilmi had a blank expression on his face and said calmly, "This is the first important job for my lovely brother. Let you go out of the house alone. Dad and the old man will inevitably worry. So please come and see your situation if I have time. Training you to be a perfect killer is my important responsibility as a brother." Killua immediately asked, "In addition to you and Kaluto, are there other family members here?" Ilmi, no. Killua nodded, because there are too many coincidences. In fact, he has already thought of the reason why Ilmi and the other 2 came here. Ilmi, now it's my turn to ask questions. Dad said that your mission here is to assassinate the gang leader of Jianji. After arriving at Ukexin, I found out that it's not just Jianji. Ain beast named Xiao also died at the auction. Did you kill it? Killua did not hide anything. It was me, but it was an accident. Ilmi was silent for a moment. The second question, there are 4 Ain beasts who came to Ukexin. What about the other Ain beasts? Killua was expressionless. All dead. Ilmi. What about the Phantom Troop who caused a big disturbance at the auction? Killua did not answer. This is already the 3rd question. Anyway, the Ukexin mission has been completed. You go back first. I still have some things to deal with. I will sort them all out before leaving. Kaluto, who had been silent all the time, said, Killua, I want to stay with you. For Kaluto, Killua is an idol-like existence, an existence that he envies, and an existence that he wants to become. In the Zoldyck family, which values ability the most, the stronger the strength and talent, the more attention and love will be received. And Killua is not only among the existing members. Even if you look at the candidates of the Zoldyck family in the past generations, he is also the most talented. In addition, the reason why Kaluto is close to Killua, it is because Killua is the most humane one in the family. And the whole family from top to bottom. Everyone in Zoldyck likes Killua. The influence of others is huge. Kaluto, who is only 10 years old, has not grown up to the point where he can get rid of the influence of his family. For him, it is not wrong to like Killua. Kaluto, Ukexin is in chaos now. I don't have time to take care of you. You should go back with your brother. Killua is also very troubled by this brother, who was trained by his mother to like wearing women's clothes since he was a child. He always feels that in addition to admiring himself, this brother has other emotions. Ilmi's main purpose of this trip is to ensure Killua's safety. Seeing that Killua is fine, he plans to leave. Just before leaving, Ilmi glanced at the people of the Nasra family and said meaningfully, Killua, although your strength has improved by leaps and bounds compared to before, but do you know what the beginning of failure is for a top killer? It's when a person who originally didn't care about everything begins to care about everything. Killua said calmly, I know my limits, and you don't need to remind me. Ilmi? Really? Then I'm relieved. And your murderous aura when you attacked me just now was great. If one day you want to kill me, Ilmi said sincerely from the bottom of his heart. Killua, I won't blame you. On the contrary, I will be very relieved and touched. Because as long as you take this step, it means that you have taken the last step on the killer's road, and you are not far from inheriting the family business. Killua, new book release, please give flowers, please give evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Reading is fun every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 28. The next target, Greed Island. Yukexen flew to the airship in the Dento La area. Killua asked Ilmi, Brother, you mentioned Phantom Troop just now. Is Killua also related to them? Ilmi, it's hard to say at the moment, but Phantom Troop once appeared at the auction, and then disappeared with the Een Beast. Killua's movements in Yukexen are highly overlapped with the Een Beast and Phantom Troop, so it's inevitable that there will be some intersections. Ilmi was silent for a moment and slowly said, Although my father warned us not to contact the brigade after assassinating the member of the number 8 brigade. But with Killua's current ability, it's no problem to save his life. Let's report the situation here to my father and the old man first. Killua nodded lightly, but there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. I hope Killua doesn't get into unnecessary trouble. Bachita Hotel. In the private room, Killua held a silver revolver, aimed at Nion's forehead, and pulled the trigger. Bang! A special light bullet exploded on Nion's forehead. This is a unique way of using Paknoten's ability to materialize certain specific memories into bullets. Once hit in the head by this special memory bullet, the person who was shot will obtain these memory images and then realize memory sharing. After being hit, Nion's body trembled violently. A moment later, the death scenes of Phaeton and Finks began to flash before her eyes like a movie. Those bloody and real tragic scenes made Nion's breathing become rapid. After being separated from the memory fragments, her lips trembled slightly, and tears rolled uncontrollably in her eyes. Killua, you risked your life to do all this for me. I really don't know how to express my gratitude. I will always remember your kindness in my heart. No matter when, as long as you need it, I am willing to do anything for you. Killua raised his hand and wiped away the tears that kept pouring out. I do need you to help me do something, but not yet. But you have to remember, from today on, everything you have belongs to me. Nion was slightly startled and nodded. At this moment, Killua suddenly saw a pile of information on the table. What are these? Nion explained. After Dazone died, Skavara also chose to resign. So the 10 old men took the initiative to recommend some new guards to me and let me choose. These people's strength and background seem very complicated. I'm also worried about this. Killua, you help me with some advice. I see. Killua was also considering the matter of new guards. Although Nasra is dead, Nasra's gang still needs to exist, not only to protect Nion's safety first, but also to operate as a base. Killua picked up the pile of information and flipped through it casually, and then one of the pictures made his eyes suddenly brighten. This is Shizuka. Looking at the girl in the file, wearing a high-neck tights, casual jeans, and big frame glasses, Killua was a little bit unbelievable. In the original drama, Shizuku was a member of the new number 8 brigade who replaced the number 8 member killed by Silva and joined the group. I didn't expect that she hadn't joined the Phantom Troop yet. Gangs all over the world provide Meteor Street with a large amount of weapons and precious metals under the guise of dumping garbage. And in return, Meteor Street will also provide some elites to the gangs. It is for this reason Shizuku appeared in this pile of information. So lucky. I can actually pick up such a big leak. Killua's eyes sparkled, and his face was full of excitement. In addition to Shizuku, there was another person in these data that also caught Killua's attention. That was the music hunter, Melody. Melody has extraordinary hearing and can judge a person's psychological and health conditions through the sound of heartbeats and can also be used for long-distance reconnaissance. Although the combat ability is not good, but he is a good reconnaissance hand, turning over and over. There are only these two senior talents. Killua took out the information of Shizuku and Melody and gave it to Nion for arrangement, and he began to think about the next action plan. Now Killua mainly does two things. The first thing is to find a way to cash in these auction items worth tens of billions in his hands. The second thing is to get a Greed Island game console. When I just crossed the Hunter world, Killua has always wanted to go to Greed Island. He didn't have the ability before. Now that he has the ability, he must go. After all, once he passes the level, he can choose 3 cards to bring back to the real world. Almost all the cards on Greed Island have incredible abilities. For example, the breath of the Archangel can heal near-death injuries and incurable diseases. There is also the companion that can travel to any place. In addition, there are also Rejuvenation Potion, Dark Emerald, Recycling Room, and other amazing cards. Whenever Killua thinks of these magical cards, his heart is full of yearning and expectation. The value of these cards is infinite. Such opportunities and divine objects. Killua will certainly not let go of the collection. New book release, please give me flowers, please give me evaluation votes, and I have monthly votes. Please all readers vote for me. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading books every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 29. The escort team is first established and tasks are arranged. After the underground auction in Ukexen, the gang suffered heavy losses. Under Killua's arrangement, Nion announced that she was seriously ill due to the grief over her father's death. She chose to lie dormant temporarily. The death of Nasra and Jinji also made the gang face a new round of reshuffle. At this time, in a villa near Ukexen Airport, Shizuku and Melody came to report. Looking at the two people in front of him, Shachimono, the last member of the Dazoni Guard, had a hint of doubt in his eyes, although he also knew that he could not judge a nun's strength by appearance. But looking at Shizuku, whose face was full of innocence, and Melody, who had rabbit-like teeth and no signs of exercise on her body, Shachimono couldn't help but frown, muttering in his heart, "Can these two guys really take on the important task of guarding?" Shizuka didn't seem to notice Shachimono's doubts and looked around curiously. Melody took the initiative to greet Syakumono and smiled. "Please take care of me in the future." Syakumono hesitated for a moment and nodded in response. "Take care of me. I hope you won't let the boss down." Talking about the boss, Melody asked in confusion, "By the way, what kind of person is our boss?" Shizuka tilted his head, also very interested. Syakumono. "On the surface, the boss is Miss Nion of the Nasra family. But if you want to talk about the real boss, his identity is a bit special. You'd better not ask too much. Just do your job well." Syakumono couldn't help but twitched his mouth. If these guys knew that the real person in power in the Nasra family now came from the assassination family Zoldyck, they would probably be shocked. Not long after, Killua came to the villa. Everyone's eyes were instantly focused on him. Syakumono immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Boss." The boss turned out to be the boy in front of him. Seeing this, Shizuku and Melody also stood up immediately. Killua nodded slightly, motioned everyone to sit down, and said concisely, "Today the guard group is re-established. My request is very simple. Only one." Killua looked at him with a sharp gaze and said solemnly, "That is, at any time, my orders are absolutely prioritized. Under any circumstances, they must be executed without hesitation, without any hesitation or violation. If anyone feels that they can't do this, then you can leave now. Never force it." Everyone looked at each other after hearing this, but no one left their seats. Killua looked at them with satisfaction. "Very good. Since everyone is still sitting here, it means that you have accepted this request. Then let's talk about your treatment next. It is impossible to let the horse run without giving it grass to eat." Killua extended his index and middle fingers. "First, your commission is 3 times the market price. It will only be more, not less. Besides that, if you get into trouble, I will help you as much as I can." Killua confidently said, "You will understand the value of these conditions in the future." especially the second one. The value of this matter cannot be measured by any amount of money. A few million to tens of millions can hire folk masters. A few hundred million can already hire second-rate killers. Billions to tens of billions can already hire first-rate killers like Zoldyck. Even a family as powerful as Zoldyck can be measured in money. And the value that cannot be measured in money. At least it must be more than tens of billions. But Melody knew that Killua was not lying, because she could hear that his heartbeat was normal, without the slightest wavering, and it was a sincere word from the heart. A brief introduction to the precautions. Killua began to arrange the first task, Shizuku Shachimono. After Nasra's death, now many of the family's small leaders are very unstable. I will give you the list later. You two go and make them shut up. This is also the first test for you. Shizuka blinked and nodded. What is the requirement? Killua's eyes flashed coldly. All troublemakers will be killed without mercy. Then, Killua looked at Melody. From now on, you will be mainly responsible for Nion's personal guard. At the same time, you will serve as the temporary deputy captain of the guard. If there is any situation, report to me as soon as possible. As for the captain, I will arrange it freely. Shizuku, Melody, and Shachimono responded in unison. Yes. Melody's combat power is not high, but she is very rational and calm. At least she will not make mistakes. As for the captain of the guard, Killua wants to leave it to Kurapika in the future. Whether it is combat power, intelligence, or character, Kurapika is very online and is one of the few hexagonal candidates among Hunter. And Killua is confident that the other party will not refuse. He looked at the pair of fiery red eyes in the convenient large wrap, which is worth tens of billions of auction items. That is the fiery red eyes of the Karuta tribe. The more people care about something, the more they will be restricted by it. Killua knows very well that Kurapika, who has a blood feud in his heart, cannot refuse this invitation. Let him be the captain of the guard. It can also be used to deal with the Phantom Troop later. After arranging everything, Killua set off for Ukexin again, although the underground auction has ended. But from September 6th to 10th, the 5 days, the oldest Nampi's auction will be held. He now has to find a way to deal with the tens of billions of auction items in his hand. I went to the grave in the morning and finally came back, starting today's update. Asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please vote for all readers. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 30. The big enemy is coming, with billions of startup funds. Ukexin. As a metropolis that gathers treasures from all over the world. In addition to auctions, there are also many flea markets and trade fairs. At this moment, Senpai is walking through the flea market with steady steps. He is a senior appraiser. He started out as a counterfeiter when he was young. He was once an artist dedicated to creating fakes. His works that are so realistic that countless experts can hardly distinguish them. Now that he has achieved some success, he has decided to return to the right path. He focuses on recycling his past masterpieces in Ukexin, and while studying them, he also makes up for his past mistakes. Shinpai's eyes are very sharp and vicious. Whether it is ancient jewelry covered by dust or expensive items casually discarded in the corner. Even in this flea market where fakes are numerous and things are messy, basically no treasure can escape his eyes. Suddenly, in an extremely conspicuous store, Senpai was attracted by an object casually placed in the corner. It was a dagger with a blade like a snake and a handle like an angel's wing. "Boss, how much is this thing?" Senpai asked casually, his voice calm without a trace of ripples. The boss took a quick glance and said, "That thing, 100,000 rings." 100,000 rings. Hearing this price, Senpai looked normal, but he was ecstatic in his heart. If he was not mistaken, this dagger is called Viper. 100 years ago, this dagger was very famous. Many important members of gangs or terrorist organizations were killed by this dagger, and later some famous clergymen of the church also died under this dagger. So in addition to the name of Viper, it also has another name, the incarnation of angels and demons. 10 years ago, this dagger made a stunning appearance at an underground auction attracting countless people to compete for it. And the selling price at that time was 50 million. The reason why Senpai knew so well was because he had spent a lot of effort and energy to make a replica of this dagger. He knew every subtle texture and every unique design of it, and it was almost impossible to make a mistake. But this kind of thing usually only circulates in underground auctions. How could it appear here? Senpai suppressed his inner excitement and pretended to be speechless. This kind of thing also costs 100,000 genie? It's really blatantly killing people. But even if I make friends with you, I'll pack this dagger. The boss shook his head and said, I can't sell you this dagger now. Senpai frowned tightly. What do you mean? The boss took out a piece of paper. The person who left the dagger here said, if you want it, you must trade with him face to face. Here is the address and phone number. Trade in person? This is also the first time that Senpai has encountered such a weird seller. But this is a bloody profit of 50 million. Who can resist such temptation? Weighing the pros and cons, Senpai's eyes eagerly scanned the information above and started to make a call. In a restaurant, Killua was sitting in a corner eating dessert. The dagger, incarnation of angel and devil, was naturally left there by him in order to find someone with good taste. It would be best if it was a collector or an appraiser. After all, as the saying goes, every profession has its own specialty. There are so many items in the underground auction. He didn't know the specific value of each item at all, and it was too troublesome to operate. Silver hair, long-sleeve navy blue high-neck single clothes, and light purple V-neck short-sleeve shirts on the outside. Senpai scanned the restaurant, and finally his eyes fell on Killua. He hurriedly pretended to be impatient and anxious. Hey, kid. The dagger worth 100,000 rings in the market. You sold it. Those things have to be traded face to face. Trade quickly. I have other things to do. Senpai kept looking at his watch while talking, as if every second counted. Seeing that the one who found him was the great wronged appraiser in the original drama. Killua was stunned for a moment, then a barely perceptible smile appeared on his lips. I won't sell you that dagger. You can see that, right? Its true value is far more than 100,000 rings. Senpai had obvious dissatisfaction and doubt on his face. Then you still? But before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Killua. But if you really want it, I can give it to you directly. Give it to me directly? Senpai's eyes widened in disbelief. And while he was wondering what Killua was up to, he asked cautiously, what are the conditions? Killua, help me identify the value of some items, and it's best to sell them directly. That's it. Senpai was very puzzled, even a little disdainful. This kind of thing is not worth 50 million no matter how you look at it. Killua smiled and said nothing. But he took it to the residence he had just rented. Pushing the bedroom door at the deepest part of the door, Senpai was stunned because he saw a whole room of treasures. All kinds of gold, silver, jewelry, and precious antiques piled up like mountains, like a dreamlike treasure world. How is this possible? Senpai opened his mouth wide, totally unable to believe what he saw. If these are real, the value is unimaginable. Go forward and take a closer look, Killua reminded. Senpai took a deep breath, tried to calm himself, and slowly walked towards the pile of treasures. He quickly picked up an old book, gently flipped the yellowed pages, and carefully checked the texture of the paper. Then he picked up a ring and observed the color and cut of the gemstone under the light. He picked up a long sword and gently stroked the surface, feeling the traces and unique texture left by the years. Every time he picked up an item, Senpai's shock increased, and the more he looked, the more frightened he became, and the more he looked, the more flustered he became. Because there was not a single ordinary item among so many things. All of them were treasures, rare items, and many illegal goods. New book release, asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, and monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 31. Batra, prepare to go to Greed Island. These things, Senpai's hands began to tremble slightly, and his breathing became rapid. He suddenly remembered a rumor he heard this morning. I heard that the underground auction house was robbed yesterday, and all the items were looted. And the robbers were extremely clever and left no clues. Overnight, the priceless treasures disappeared without a trace. How could it be such a coincidence? Could these be? Xianpai's eyes swept over the treasures in the room, and the more he thought about it, the more frightened he felt. He asked Killua, can I ask? But he didn't finish his words. Killua interrupted him. I advise you not to ask this question. You are just an appraiser. Your task is to appraise the value of these goods and sell them. Knowing too much, it won't do you any good. Xianpai swallowed hard and had the answer in his mind. After a little thought, he said, with so many treasures, the conservative value is more than 10 billion. But according to my observation, only 8 layers can be processed. After all, some of them are too rare, and it is easy to find out where they came from. And if they are sold frequently and in large quantities in a short period of time, it is too easy to be targeted. So it will take at least a month to process these things. In addition, I have 2 requests. Xianpai held up 2 fingers. First, in addition to the dagger, I want to increase the commission by 1% of the total amount. Second, I need someone to protect my safety. The commission of 1% of the total amount is about more than 100 million. If all these things can be cashed in, don't say 100 million. 1 billion is no problem. Are there any other conditions? Killua asked. Xianpai shook his head. Well, I'll leave this matter to you. If you have anything, just call this number directly. Killua left the Melody phone number and turned around to leave. Xianpai hurriedly called Killua. Wait, you're leaving just like that? Why would I not leave? I've already told you that there are treasures worth 10 billion here. And at least 10 billion. Xianpai raised his voice, with doubt in his eyes. Are you so confident in leaving it to me? In the original drama, Xianpai would fulfill his promise to Gon even if he had to borrow money at high interest rates. He was a guy who would count money for his friend, even if he was sold out by his friend. Killua stopped and looked back, with a slight smile on his face. I believe you. After that, Killua no longer paid attention to Xianpai and quickly disappeared from his residence. Looking at Killua's departing back, Xianpai felt mixed emotions and at the same time was a little touched. They actually handed over tens of billions of treasures to me, who I just met for less than 10 minutes. Although I don't know where this kid came from, but it makes me a little serious. Take a deep breath. Xianpai turned around and looked at the treasures in the room again. His eyes became firm, as if he had made up his mind. Kid, let's not talk about the high commission. Just for this trust, I will never let you down. Just wait and see. I will definitely make these treasures play their maximum value. Saw the first trouble at hand. Killua began to think about the second Greed Island game console. If Killua remembered correctly, the price of Greed Island game console is at least 20 billion, which is a super rare item. 20 billion is not a small amount. What's more, this thing is in short supply, and it can't be bought with money. At this moment, beep beep beep, Melody called. Hey boss, I found the information of the rich man named Batra that you asked me to look up. I will send you the information via SMS now. Although it doesn't look impressive, but the Melody is a music hunter that has passed the association's assessment. And with a hunter license, not only can you use 95% of public facilities for free, you can also find information that ordinary people can't access at all. The next moment, the information came. Killua quickly flipped through the information and summarized the information according to his memory. Batra, a super rich man who is almost as rich as a country with a total asset of hundreds of billions. Because of an accident, one of his relatives became a vegetable and happened to hear that Greed Island has a spell that can heal any injury. So he started to buy Greed Island game machines in 1988 and hired quite a lot of good players to enter the game to help him break the level. Anyone who successfully breaks the level will receive a reward of 50 billion ninjas. If I remember correctly, this Batra has nearly dozens of game consoles, although the number of players on a game console is limited to 8 people. At the same time, as long as the previous player is still alive in the game, the next player cannot participate. But in order to wait for the challenger, who is more likely to break through the level, each game console will leave a few vacancies in advance. Instead of looking for this kind of thing that is currently unsaleable at a high price, It is better to go directly to Batra, who has 100% of the game consoles. Killua's brain thought quickly and had a plan in mind. Seeking flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Chapter 32. I want the money, and I want the card too. September 5th. The first day of the Nampisi auction ended. Batra walked out of the auction venue with heavy steps, as if a huge stone was pressing on his chest. There are still no new machines for sale at this auction. If we can't find a new Greed Devil Slam machine, the game quota will be full soon. What should I do? Thinking back to his lover, who was still lying unconscious on the hospital bed, Batra's eyes revealed a trace of despair. 20 years ago, his lover became a vegetable due to a car accident, and all the famous doctors in the world could not cure him. What he knew so far, only the Archangel Breath in Greed Island has a chance to cure him, although this is just a rumor. But as long as there is a glimmer of hope, he will work hard for it, even if it means losing everything. Sighed. Batra looked at the nun master who was recently hired at a high price to clear Greed Island, Juezi Juela. Because I couldn't buy a new machine this time, I can't provide you with a lot of help. About the clearance, please. Batla's voice was full of pleading, and he didn't have the airs of a billionaire at all. Juezagila replied with a serious expression. Don't worry, I will do my best. Juezagila was wearing a neat work suit with sharp eyes, neat beard, and short hair. He is not only a skilled nun, he is also a one-star bounty hunter. The Hunter Association has more than 600 official hunters so far. Only hunters who have made great achievements in a certain field or left many merits will be awarded the star title. While the two were talking, the voice of the guard came from not far away. Stop. Please keep your distance and state your identity and purpose. Otherwise, we will take compulsory measures. Batla raised his head. Two of his burly suited guards stopped a silver-haired boy who was walking towards them. Mr. Bardra, let's chat if you have time. Maybe. I can fulfill your wish. Killua put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, Fulfill my wish. Batra narrowed his eyes slightly and looked Killua up and down, but he had no intention of stopping. After all, he only had one wish. That was to cure his lover. And if he wanted to cure, the only chance was to clear Greed Island, which was obviously not something a teenager could do. Batra, just turn around. Killua's voice came again. Don't you really want to know? About how to wake up a comatose person. Instantly, it was like a thunderbolt struck in Bartra's mind. He was fixed in place, his pupils contracted, and his breathing became rapid. Take Killua back to the private room specially provided for the auction. Batra was alert at first. How do you know I need a way to wake up a comatose person? About the real purpose of hiring someone to clear Greed Island. He didn't even tell Juezra. Killua smiled slightly. Of course I have my own channels to learn these things, and more importantly, I can solve your problem. Batra stared at Killua, full of doubts. Do you really have a way to wake up the unconscious person? Killua, of course, to be precise. I have the ability to revive people who are unconscious. Killua stretched out his right hand and used ki to let lightning flow on his arm. You should know the existence of none. Yingnin. My ability is to inject lightning into muscles and body, forcibly stimulate muscles and nerves for continuous repair. Don't say it's a coma. Even if someone is on the verge of death, I can save him. The lightning armor developed by Killua can indeed greatly improve muscle repair and resistance to blows. Even if the electricity is well controlled, it can also have a certain therapeutic effect on others. But if it's about reviving a vegetative person, this is naturally impossible. But none is profound. In addition, Batra is eager to save his wife, and he obviously believes it. His eyes are full of expectation, and his expression is even a little out of control. Please, please save my love. How long has your love been in a coma? Killua said calmly. It's been almost 20 years. 20 years, Killua pretended to think. After 20 years of coma, even if I was maintained by the best nutrient solution every day, the body's muscles and functions will inevitably atrophy and degenerate. Long-term bed rest will lead to bone calcium loss, weakened muscle strength, slow nervous system reactions, and greatly reduced perception of external stimuli. It will take a long time to restore normal physiological functions of such a body, Batra said urgently. As long as you can wake my lover, I will pay you 50 billion. No, 80 billion. I will pay you 80 billion. For Batra, whether he can pass the Greed Island is still an illusory thing. Even if he passes the level, he doesn't know whether he can save his lover. Distant water cannot quench near thirst. Killua's value is obviously higher, and much higher. 80 billion deal. In addition, I also want a place to go to Greed Island. This is related to my personal ability. Before I really start the treatment, I must make all preparations. If you agree, we can draw up a contract. Although Killua can join Batra's Greed Island team through a normal employment relationship. But in this case, he must sign a contract with him that the ownership of everything brought back from the game belongs to Batra. For Killua, he wants the money. He also wants the card. How could he give such a magic card to others? Of course, he does have a way to cure Batra's lover, and more than one. Start today's update. Ask for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Read books every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 33. Uncle, it's okay if I release my murderous intent directly to you. Contracting party Killua. Main commission. Treat Batra's lover. As long as he successfully wakes him up from his coma and recovers, he will receive 80 billion in rewards. Also, a place in Greed Island, paid in advance, is included. Contract duration, 1 month. It will take effect immediately after signing the healing contract. Killua followed Batra and his group and came to an ancient city from the Deshadow station. This ancient city is not only like a maze. It is also equipped with the latest anti-theft system. As long as you go to a place outside the instructions without authorization, your life will be in danger. Most importantly, there is also an armed force stationed in the ancient city, including many none, and the defense is quite high. There are a total of 25 Greed that will sland Greed Island machines here. More than 100 hired professional or amateur players are playing games in them. There are still 4 vacancies now. After arriving at a room full of game consoles, Juazajila introduced the situation to Killua and questioned him with a scrutinizing look. But before entering the game, let me see your Lien first. Greed. Well, Sland has a special rule. That is, each memory card can only be used once, and once inserted, it cannot be removed. So in order to avoid some weak players wasting the challenge quota in vain, I will strictly screen the strength of each challenger. Juazajila did not know the healing contract between Killua and Batra. He just thought he was also a challenger who came to challenge for the 50 billion bounty. Seeing Killua was still a teenager, Juazajila also reminded, if all the difficulties in the world are divided into 10 levels of difficulty, then the difficulty of passing this game is about the 4th level. If you don't have absolute strength, there is a certain probability of death in this game. Killua showed a sly smile on his face. Uncle, it's okay if I use Lien directly on you. Lien, one of the 4 major elements of None. Using will to stimulate more energy in the body. If the will contains killing intent, the killing intent released will naturally have a stronger effect under the blessing of Lien. If the will is not strong, there is no need to do it at all. Just feeling, Lien will make you PS and P, or even be scared to death. Of course. Didn't Barra tell you my identity? I am. Juazajila looked confident. He is a 1-star hunter who has experienced countless hardships and challenges. How could he be afraid of a teenager? While he was speaking, Killua's eyes condensed, and the 5 fingers of his right hand opened, releasing the energy forward in the form of killing intent. In an instant, a suffocating sense of oppression suddenly spread like a tide. Juazajila felt that every inch of his skin and every bone was instantly controlled by an irresistible pressure. The surrounding air seemed to turn into densely packed sharp blades, ruthlessly cutting towards him. It's amazing to master None at this age. How is it possible? How is it possible to have such power? And there is such a strong, murderous aura. Who on earth is this guy? Feeling this terrifying aura, Zezarala was completely frozen in place. His mind was blank. After Killua withdrew his telekinesis, he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Really, really terrible, murderous aura. You passed. While Killua went to get the memory card and the ring he needed to wear to enter the game, Batla secretly asked Zezarala, "How is it? How strong is this Killua?" Batla was able to steadily become a wealthy man with hundreds of billions of assets step by step, so he was definitely not a simple-minded, stupid, and ignorant fool. Although he was blinded by love, he still had a heart in his heart. Juzajila swallowed his saliva and sighed. It's so strong that it feels incredible. At his age, I have never seen anyone stronger than him. No, to be exact. Even if he is placed among all those who possess none, he is undoubtedly the best of the best and is a trustworthy existence. Hearing this answer, the last stone in Bartra's heart fell. He breathed a sigh of relief and muttered to himself, "Really, this is the best. I hope he can help me fulfill my wish." Everything is ready. Killua came to the game console. Juazajila reminded. Insert the memory card into the game console and then release the telekinesis, and the game will start automatically. I won't introduce the content of the game. When you enter the game, there will be a corresponding system to explain and guide you. With your intelligence, I believe you will soon understand everything. Good luck. Killua took a deep breath, inserted the memory card into the game console, and slowly released the telekinesis. The next moment, buzz! The game console screen glowed brightly. Killua felt his eyes blurry, and his body was instantly sucked into an unknown vortex. Seeking flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 34. Island of Greed. Killua opened his eyes again and found himself in a sealed space. There were mysterious patterns like QR codes everywhere. Those patterns were orderly and intertwined, flashing a hazy and strange light, making the whole room shrouded in a futuristic technological atmosphere. Pushing open the door, there was a corridor also covered with QR code patterns. The patterns in the corridor seemed to be flowing, giving people a dreamlike feeling. Walking to the end of the corridor, a girl wearing a cool high-tech helmet was sitting peacefully on an eggshell-shaped desk, tapping the keyboard with both hands, floating in the air leisurely. After scanning through the computer lens, the girl made an ethereal voice. "Welcome to the world of Greed Island, Mr. Killua. I am a novice guide, Ada. I am happy to introduce you to the instructions of this game. Please listen carefully." Killua nodded. Although he had a general understanding of the rules of the Greed game, but this time he was experiencing it in person, so he had to listen to the rules carefully. As a time traveler, he also knew that this Ada was not just a novice guide. Her true identity is the same as Jean, Freaks, and she is one of the 11 developers of this game. Ada introduced. In the game of Greed Island, as long as you wear your ring, you can use two kinds of magic in this world. One is BOK, the other is Gain. Now please extend your hand with the ring and read out loud BOK, according to the instructions. Killua extended his right hand with the ring, BOK, the next moment. A thick book covered with magic patterns suddenly appeared in his hand. Ada continued. The overall process of the Greed Island game is to let each player collect designated cards. And the book that comes out of BOK is the card book for collecting cards. Now, please open the first page of the card collection book. Killua opened the book. Inside was the same as he remembered, neatly arranged squares with clear numbers. Ada, what you are seeing now is the designated frame. These frames are marked with different numbers and can only hold cards with the same number. The frame without a number behind it is the free frame, and any number card can be placed in it. There are 100 designated frames from number 000 to number 999. There are only 45 free frames. As long as you collect all 100 designated frame cards, it means that you have successfully completed the game. Killua flipped through the entire book quickly. Ada continued to introduce. After BOK, now it's Gain. In the game, if you get a sword-like item, the sword will automatically turn into a card after you get the item. And if you want to turn the card back into a sword, then you can recite Gain to complete this magic. But once you use Gain to turn the card back into an item, the item can no longer be turned into a card, so please pay attention. In addition, there are two other situations where it cannot be turned into a card. Ada held up two fingers. The first is that the item has reached the limit of the number of cards that can be turned into a card. On Greed Island, all cards have a maximum number of cards. If the limit is exceeded, it cannot be turned into a card. The second situation is that as long as the card is not collected for more than 1 minute, it will automatically turn back into an item and will never be turned into a card again. Do you understand this explanation? Killua made an okay gesture. Ada, then there is one most important thing to note. If the player dies in the game, the book and the ring will be destroyed, and all the cards inside will disappear. Of course, what I said are just the most basic rules of this game. For more details about the game, please find ways to obtain them in the game while you are going through the levels. I wish you all the best. The novice tutorial is over. Killua walked down the stairs on one side and quickly left this room full of futuristic technology. It was morning outside the room. The warm sunshine hit his face. Just look around. In addition to the initial tutorial hut responsible for receiving newcomers, there is only an endless grassland. The green grass swayed gently in the breeze. The entire grassland is like a green ocean, extending to the distant horizon, closely connected with the blue sky. After walking out of the novice hut, Killua slowly raised his head, and a trace of vigilance flashed in his eyes. Although he could not see any figure on the grassland, but with his extraordinary keen perception, he clearly felt that someone was secretly watching him from a very far distance. And this feeling of being watched was not just from one place, but from at least 3 people. Killua snorted coldly, with a disdainful arc on his lips. Since the other party could be so easily detected to emit murderous aura, that means his strength is completely inferior. After all, the truly top killers will hide their aura perfectly during the action. Only when they decide to give a fatal blow will they release their aura. And these guys obviously have not reached this level yet. Please give me flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading books every day on the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th, Chapter 35, Game Bug, a way to cure an incurable disease. On the grassland, Killua did not start collecting cards immediately, but found a large rock that could hide his figure, and used none. Incredibly convenient large wrap. The next moment, a figure was released from it. It was the guard corps, Shachimono. Shachimono, you may have to stay in there for a few days. I have prepared enough food for you in the space. Killua covered the 2 figures with a large wrap and quickly instructed. Shachimono, no problem, boss. As long as it can help you, this matter is nothing. After briefly explaining the matter, Killua hid Shachimono in the large wrap again and began to wait quietly in the same place. Half an hour later, Killua's eyes flashed with excitement. Not discovered success. As a time traveler, Killua knew very well that Greed Island was not a virtual game at all. It was a real place in the world, located in the east of Hunter Realm, a small island close to the edge. The role of the game console. It is to teleport the player here through the mind given by the creator to the console, which is equivalent to a special teleportation array. Before looking for the wealthy businessman Batra, Killua was thinking about a question. If the game console is a teleportation array, can he use the incredible convenient large wrap to bring other people directly here? So, he found Shachimono in advance as a test subject. The answer is obvious. The reason why Shachimono stayed there for half an hour after being released briefly, Killua, was to see if he was discovered by the manager. Ada at the starting point of the island just now. In addition to being responsible for the game instructions for entering the island and asking questions about number 000, you can also use Mind to survey the entire island. In the original play, Phantom Troop once wanted to forcibly land and plunder Greed Island from the real world. It was Ada who discovered and notified Razor to expel it. He was so close to the starting point and waited for half an hour. He must not have been discovered. And the reason why he was not discovered, Killua can probably think of it. After all, he has the entry, Traveler, Black, and Unique. With this entry, others cannot spy on any of his information, let alone discover the internal space of the incredible convenient large wrap hidden on his body through him. When he released Shachimono just now, he deliberately used telekinesis and the large wrap to surround the two. Anyone who wants to explore the situation, that is equivalent to exploring his own information. His information is precisely unable to be spied on. It is equivalent to using the Traveler Black entry to block a system bug. The reason for conducting this experiment is to complete the contract with Batra. If this card, Archangel's Breath, is brought to the outside world, it can only be used once. But in Greed Island, by copying, it can be used many times. One of Killua's treatment methods is to bring Batra's lover directly to Greed Island for treatment through the incredible convenient large wrap. If successful, it is equivalent to getting something for nothing, and it is directly 80 billion. Of course, even if the strategy of bringing people to Greed Island for treatment through the incredibly convenient large wrap fails, Killua has other strategies. It's just a little more troublesome, since I can bring people in without being discovered. Then the contract with Batra can be said to be completed. 80 billion, when I think of this number. Even Killua, who has seen a lot, can't help but be excited. This speed of making money, it can only be said to be too crazy. While Killua was enjoying the future, a voice came from the sky. Swoosh! The next moment, a weirdo with a punk hairstyle, wearing headphones, and the words wind and thunder written on his shoulders fell from the sky in front of him. His name is Latasha, and he often hides near the starting grassland and bullies novice players. Be okay. Latash drew a card immediately after landing. Gain. Use 1001G 200. Peeping card. 1001G 200. Peeping. You can see all the free pockets of a challenger. Only for challengers encountered in the game. Then, lines of words appeared in Latash's book. Killua's free pockets cannot be checked. What's going on? Why can't I check this kid's information? But he just came out of the novice planes, so he should be a beginner who just came. Latash laughed and quickly drew another 1027 E90 tracking. 1027 E90 tracking. You can know the current location of an opponent at any time until the opponent leaves the game. This guy is not only a novice, but also a child, although it is a bit of a waste to use this card on him. But in this way, I can grasp all his whereabouts and information. No matter how he struggles, he can only be hunted like prey by me. Thinking of this, Latash raised 1027-90 tracking and shouted, Gain! Aim at Killua! But before he finished speaking, Latash felt a pair of arms suddenly lock his neck from behind. The next moment, click! The world was spinning and he was instantly upside down in his eyes. You are so long-winded. Since the other party regards himself as prey, then Killua naturally has no reason to show mercy. Seeking flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Chapter 36, Bounty City, and Okiba, Greed Island. After a long journey, Killua finally arrived at the first town, the Bounty City, and Akiba. This town is like a scene in an RPG game. In addition to the shops displaying a wide range of goods, various bounties are posted everywhere in the streets and alleys. Every time a bounty mission is successfully completed, an item can be obtained. In the middle of the town, there is a tall clock tower. On the main wall of the clock tower, records the schedule of the competitions held in Andakiba every month. Andakiba will hold an open competition on the 15th of every month. The competition to be held in September is rock, paper, scissors. The winner will receive a prize. Sword of Truth. Killua read every piece of information carefully and began to think about his card collection strategy in his heart. There are still a few days before the September competition. Compared to waiting here or blindly offering bounties, I should plan a clear card collection route first. As a time traveler, Killua has a unique and incomparable advantage over other players. That is, he knows how to obtain each card and does not need to grope around in confusion like other people. After carefully thinking about the distribution and difficulty of each card, Killua has roughly figured out the idea. His first target card is naturally 75 Lucky Alexander Gem, A20. Although this card is only A level, but the difficulty of obtaining it is relatively high. Because the condition for obtaining this card is handing over all your property to the bandits without knowing the reward. At the same time, you have to find another rare card that can remove the curse. 84 Paladin's Jewelry D60 for Penniless Novices. The first condition is acceptable, but for those players who have already collected a lot of wealth and put in countless efforts and hard work, this is absolutely unimaginable difficulty. After all, who is willing to give up all the wealth they have accumulated with great effort to help a complete stranger? No matter what world, human nature is always the most terrible thing. If I remember correctly, to go to the mission point of this Lucky Alexander Gem, you have to go north along the mountain road from Andakaiba. The journey is about 80 to 100 kilometers. Before that, Killua looked at the ramen shop next to him. Let's have a good meal first. Boss, our ramen is free as long as you finish it within 30 minutes. And you can give me an extra card, Killua asked as he looked at the full bowl of ramen in front of him. Yes, please enjoy it. Then I won't hesitate. Killua picked up the chopsticks and started to gobble it up without hesitation. 10 minutes later, a big bowl of ramen was swallowed. Killua patted his stomach and received the first greed card. 1217 plus, Garuga Fight, F185. 1217, Garugada F185. A fish, a useless card that can only be exchanged for money in the store. In Greed Island, all information is marked on the card. For example, this 1217 Garugada F185. Among them, 1217 is the card number. F represents the difficulty of obtaining, and 185 represents the maximum number of copies of this card. In addition, he also found that many people in this city only answer specific questions. As long as the dialogue is beyond the setting, they have no idea at all, which is very similar to the NPC in the game. The money in the original world is also useless on the island. There are coin cards dedicated to consumption here, and they are full of details everywhere. Leave the ramen shop. Killua went to the grocery store and exchanged Garugada for 3 coin cards worth 10,000. Then he set off north at a moderate speed. Compared to the peepers in the Novice Plains, finally a smart guy has come. While moving forward, Killua glanced behind him from time to time. He could feel that he was being followed again after leaving Andakaiba. But compared to the half-baked one who couldn't even hide his murderous intent before, this time the stalker was very skilled, at least a master who was good at using absolute. In addition to professional top killers like Zoldyck and super masters who were responsible for tracking, even the most skilled none. No matter how to hide the murderous intent and the breath, you must pay 100% attention when tracking others. Especially the eyes must be fixed on the target, even if the other party is in the state of absolute. As long as he stares at him with a strong gaze, Killua can detect it. This is his innate killer talent. In fact, it's not just killers. Many ordinary people can sometimes enter this state for a short time. It's the kind of terrifying intuition that feels like a thorn in the back, which is hard to explain. You don't even need to look back, but you can clearly feel that someone is looking at you from behind. At the same time, in the shadows far behind Killua, a beautiful Lolita with a yellow ponytail and a red fluffy skirt is stalking Killua. This little guy is so skilled. His steps are agile, and his footsteps are fast and silent. He is like a sapphire shining, so dazzling. Speaking of this, the blonde Lolita, named Biscuit, is excited. Why do I get so excited when I encounter something shiny? Woohoo! I really want to train him well and let him shine like a gem. Please give me flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Read books every day during the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 37. Bandits, monsters, greed is the way to go. Killua went north along Andokeba and soon entered a dense jungle. The trees around were tall and thick. The sun shone through the layers of leaves, casting mottled light and shadows on the ground. The air was filled with a damp smell, mixed with the smell of soil and grass. Suddenly, there was a crunch. That was the sound of dead branches and leaves being stepped on. Then several figures dressed as ninjas flew out of the shadows. Killua's eyes instantly became sharp, and his right hand turned into a hand knife, but he did not make a move. Because after those ninjas appeared, they knelt down in front of Killua in a prostrate posture. "Please save us, please." Killua's eyes lit up, and he immediately responded, "What trouble do you have? Take me to see." These ninja-dressed characters are the bandits in Greed Island. Finally arrived at the mission point, Killua followed the bandits back to the base. Biscuit, hiding behind a thick tree, stared at Killua's back, her eyes full of curiosity and shock. "Are you kidding?" The murderous aura that the boy just revealed made me feel a little cold. What on earth has he experienced to have such a terrifying aura? In addition to being shocked, Biscuit naturally had a stronger desire to explore. She followed carefully. Every step was as light as a cat's foot, and she didn't dare to take her eyes off Killua for a moment. She was afraid that if she was careless, she would miss some crucial clues. The bandit brought Killua into the camp. A pale little boy with a towel on his forehead was lying on the bunk in the house. As soon as the door was opened, the bandit leader immediately knelt down beside the child and cried pitifully, "My son has a disease unique to the island. At first, he will only have a slight fever, which will gradually turn into a high fever, and then he will die within a month. The only treatment is to suppress the fever with medicine. But the effect of the medicine can only last for a week, and that medicine is extremely expensive. We are at our wits' end. This child will die in the next 2 or 3 days. Can you please give me some money?" Killua asked. "How much more money do you need to buy medicine?" One of the Annies in the house immediately wiped her tears and said, "We have raised money from the village, but we are still short of 30,000 genie. Still short of 30,000 genie. It is exactly the same as all the coins in my hand." It is true. Killua knew that these bandits were not human beings, but just game-level settings, and handed over 3 10,000 genie cards without hesitation. "Thank you, I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. This child is finally saved." The Annie took the card with snot and tears on her face. But at this time, the child lying on the bed suddenly coughed again. "Dad, it's so cold, so cold." The bandit leader hugged his son tightly and shouted, "Son, cheer up. A very kind traveler gave us money. Dad will buy medicine for you tomorrow. Hang in there," the aunt said with tears in her eyes. "What should we do if the body is always so cold? I'm afraid this child won't even survive tonight. It would be great if there were clothes for children at this time." After saying that, the bandits looked at Killua pitifully again. Killua took off his sweater. "If this clothes can help him survive the cold, take it." "Really? Thank you so much. You are really an angel sent by God. I can't express my gratitude in words." Wait for the seriously ill child to put on a sweater and fall asleep. Killua left the bandit camp quickly. Helping the bandits and gaining their trust is only the first part of this mission. Only after waiting to get 84 Paladin's Jewelry D60 can you come back to get Lucky Alexander Gem, because the process is so cumbersome. The value of this card is very expensive and rare. At the same time, the experience in the bandit camp also made Killua feel a little. Although Greed Island is a game that happened to be made up of the initials of 11 creators, the content of the game is completely different from the name. The word greed represents the darkest side of human nature. But just like Lucky Alexander Gem, only those who are not greedy can finally pass the level. Leave the camp. Killua began to move towards the magic city, Macedora. Macedora is the only city on Greed Island that sells spell cards. It is located in the northwest of the bandit territory. But on the way, you will pass through the Monster Mountain Range and the desert. It requires extremely strong strength and endurance to successfully reach it. In the Monster Mountain Range, there are bursts of low roars from time to time. Killua entered the mountain range. Soon he encountered the first monster. It was a cyclops holding a giant stick. Its body was like a moving hill, There were about a dozen of them in groups. This monster looks mighty and tall, but its weakness is too obvious. Once the eyes are hit, they will become unexpectedly fragile. Killua pointed his toes, jumped into the air, and kicked one of the giants in the eye. After a painful howl, the giant that was originally as tall as a hill instantly turned into a card. 572, Cyclops, G. 333. Monster in the Monster Mountain range, with only 2 attack modes, punching down and swinging the stick randomly, and the weakness is the huge eyes on the face. Be okay. Killua summoned a book and quickly stuffed the giant card into the free pocket at the back. Although this kind of card has no effect on him, but he can sell it for money. After all, he is penniless now. If he does not have sufficient funds, he can only stare blankly when he arrives at Macedora. It's just that looking at the difficulty of collecting the Cyclops, Killua couldn't help but twitch his mouth. The difficulty of obtaining all cards is divided into 10 levels, and the levels are SS, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. The Garuga fight that could be given for free when eating ramen has an F-level difficulty. This giant monster that will actively attack people is only G level in difficulty. I really don't know how this level is divided. Maybe it has something to do with the maximum number of cards. No matter what the difficulty is, it can be traded anyway. It's better to collect more cards first. Killua flashed, leaving a series of blurred after images. And more than a dozen Cyclops were instantly obtained. Ask for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please vote for all readers. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 38. Biscuit. Brad, if I get a little fierce. Killua immediately encountered a giant lizard as tall as a mountain. Of course, compared to the one-eyed giant, it was more superficial, and its weakness was the mole in the center of its back. To cover up this weakness, this lizard was covered with huge spots all over its body. It's so interesting, just like an RPG game. Killua jumped onto the lizard's back with a quick step, stabbed it with his hand knife, and got the second monster card in the smoke. 697 Giant Lizard, E100. A huge, terrifying lizard. E-class monster. This one should be more valuable. Put the card into BOK. As the strange journey progressed, many monsters were encountered one after another. There was a bubble horse that looked like an ordinary horse, but could spit out a lot of red and white bubbles, and the bubbles would explode. There was a huge worm that could come out from the ground at any time and was hard to guard against. There was a one-eyed plankton that looked like a square stool, and the cowardly emitter mouse that can manipulate objects for self-defense, but will be scared to death when encountering other creatures. And they are all without exception. Killua has collected them all. There are already more than 30 monster cards, and the free pocket will be full soon. Now I can go to Macedora to buy magic cards. Looking at the full loot, Killua showed a satisfied smile on his face. Even if the unit price of so many cards is not high, it is probably a considerable income. However, F-level difficulty cards can be sold for 30,000 each. The price of so many higher-level monster cards should not be too low. And at this moment, Biscuit, who peeped at all this from the back, the whole person fell into deep shock again. She thought that even if Killua could get through the Monster Mountain range, it would take some effort. After all, this is not a good place. There are rocks everywhere, the road is rugged, and all kinds of ferocious monsters are lurking in the dark. But I didn't expect Killua to pass it so easily. And this is more than easy. It was like a sure win, without even a drop of sweat. How much strength does this guy have hidden? He can deal with so many monsters so easily. There must be stronger power that has not been revealed. Biscuit's curiosity about Killua became stronger and stronger, like a burning flame that burned more and more vigorously. So, Biscuit made up his mind and chose to show up openly, shouting, "Hey, that silver-haired boy, wait for me." Killua turned his head and was also stunned. He originally planned to catch the stalker behind him when entering the desert, but he had planned everything. He didn't expect the other party to show up on his own initiative, and he didn't expect that the one who had been following him was Biscuit, the little lowly with a ponytail, if I remember correctly. In the original plot, Biscuit will enter Greed Island next year. It seems that many things are changing because of my arrival. Biscuit quickly came to Killua, with his legs turned inward, and said in a pinched voice, "Well, can I join your team? There are so many monsters here. I'm so scared here. Every hunter is very vigilant. But if it were someone else, there is still a certain probability that they would be deceived by Biscuit's cute face and petite body. But Killua knows very well that under the appearance of a blonde lowly, there is a strong 57-year-old ant. But in the hunter world, as long as you learn to control your thoughts, you can prevent the reduction of life breath as much as possible, greatly delay aging, and increase your lifespan. For a strong nun, 40 or 50 years old is still in the prime of youth. Want to join my team? Not impossible. Biscuit was all smiles and just felt that everything was under her control. But in a flash, Killua said, "But I have two conditions. During the journey, all the cards you get must be selected by me first. Besides that, you must first pay me your rarest card as your joining fee." Biscuit didn't expect Killua to make such a harsh condition. Her face was tangled, but her heart was furious. "Brat, do you know that I am several times older than you?" If I get a little fierce, but before she could vent her anger, Killua had already started to move forward quickly. She was left standing there with a look of surprise and helplessness. 3 minutes later, "Be okay. Here, take it." Biscuit helplessly picked a designated card from the book and handed it over. Killua glanced at it. 74. Sage's Aquamarine A. 15. Those who possess this gem can become lifelong friends with many resourceful people. Although the difficulty of obtaining this card is only A level, but the maximum limit is only 15, which is indeed a very rare existence. "Okay, but you have to keep up with me. I don't want to bring a burden." Insert 74, Sage's Aquamarine A15, into his collection. Killua took another step. "Damn, this kid." Biscuit clenched his fists. "Hey, please wait a moment. I won't drag you down." Crossed the Monster Mountain range and came to the endless desert. The scorching sun ruthlessly burned the earth, and the rolling heat waves hit the face. Not to mention ordinary people. Even for ordinary none, every minute of progress here consumes a lot of physical strength. It's time to say it. This kid's physical strength is quite good, and he is indeed a rough gem that I have set my sights on. Watching Killua running at high speed in the desert, not only is his pace steady, his breathing is also not disordered. Biscuit secretly praised him in her heart. But the next moment, her expression changed, and her eyebrows immediately frowned. Although it was only for a moment, but Biscuit felt that there seemed to be a murderous aura emerging from the pile of rocks in front. But it disappeared in an instant. This kid has a sense of smell that is different from ordinary people. But the murderous aura just now only appeared for a moment. If I hadn't been vigilant, I might not have been able to capture it. Biscuit smiled in his heart. "Humph. I didn't remind you that there was an ambush ahead, but I had to let you suffer a setback. Let's see what you can do then. This time I'm going to make you beg me instead. Seeking Flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important." Chapter 39, Crushing Speed, a gap that is completely impossible to counter. Arriving at the edge of the desert, the ground underfoot was no longer soft sand, but solid soil. Looking up, giant stone pillars of various shapes began to appear in front of us. The surface of the stone pillars was covered with traces of time. Wind erosion and sand grinding made them look vicissitudes and mysterious. "Hey, Killua, we have been traveling for so long. I am really a little tired and can't walk anymore. Plus, it's getting late. Why don't we take a break first?" Biscuit bent down slightly, supported his hands on his knees, and wiped the sweat pretending to be a little tired. "Okay, then take a break first." Killua glanced at a certain part of the stone pillars calmly, and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. He felt that someone seemed to be hiding here. But it's not a big problem. This kind of opponent whose breath is detected before entering the combat state is generally not to be feared. At the same time, taking advantage of this time, Killua also began to look at Biscuit's information seriously. Name, Biscuit, skills, heart source martial arts, then training level, extreme, excellent, talented, extreme. Entry, magical beautician Miss Cookie. Blue lower level. Magic beautician Miss Cookie. Possessing professional beauty techniques, she can massage with a special lotion made from Ki. It can give others the equivalent of 8 hours of sleep in 30 minutes, and they can rest no matter how hard they practice. Blue entry. Although Killua had expected that Biscuit's Nin color entry would not be too high, but when he actually saw it, it was still hard to hold back. Women's minds are really confusing. However, because she is a conjurer nun, the color entry does not affect a person's strength. Among the 6 Nin categories, emitter, manipulator, and trait focus on external use. Battles mainly rely on Nin mechanisms. A powerful telekinetic mechanism can allow a rookie to defeat a senior with rich experience. For example, Kurapika versus Uvijin, Krallo. Especially the control system. As long as the controller is successfully inserted into the opponent's body, victory can often be achieved directly. In contrast, the 3 systems of Enhancer, Transmuter, and Conjurer focus on inner cultivation. The ability mechanism is secondary. The degree of cultivation is the key. It mainly depends on whether the practitioner has a high level of telekinesis. As a 2-star gem hunter and a leader of the Heart Source School, Biscuit's telekinesis and physical skills are very good, and she has even developed an ability that is not inferior to Enhancer. Under her lowly appearance, she is a fierce, muscular woman with a height of more than 2 meters. Her strength is unfathomable. She is a powerful character that cannot be ignored. And the reason why Killua is willing to let her go is also very simple. To obtain the number 002 1 Ping Coastline card, you must pass the assessment of the game developer Lei Zhao later. The assessment content is ball bouncing competition. This game requires teamwork. Killua alone is definitely not enough. Oh, I'm exhausted. Biscuit found a relatively flat stone, sat on it, and breathed a sigh of relief. Killua seemed to be leaning against the boulder casually, but in fact he was ready to deal with emergencies at any time. As long as the situation changes, he can react in an instant, although it was just a short break. But the originally bright sky seemed to be quickly covered with a black curtain by an invisible hand. The sky darkened at a very fast speed. At this moment, swoosh, a figure suddenly appeared from the shadows. Here it comes! Killua and Biscuit raised their heads at the same time, and then instantly moved away. The opponent is very experienced. Except for the beginning of showing a trace of murderous intent, he did not reveal any breath throughout the whole process. And this kid was able to react at the same time as me. The sense of smell is really sharp. Biscuit glanced at the sneak attacker and kept looking at Killua with his peripheral vision. At this time, Killua finally saw the appearance of the sneak attacker. Red hair, small eyes, a mouth full of triangular teeth, and a pair of scissors in his hand. At the same time, the data panel began to appear. Name, Biscuit, Nin training level. Talent, excellent, talented, extreme. Term, cutting beautician, purple lower level. Cutting beautician, purple lower level. You can sense the physical condition of your opponent that even he doesn't know by eating his hair, including the quality of the flesh, the presence or absence of diseases, the strength of genetic factors, etc. You can fully grasp it. It turned out to be this pervert. No wonder he took the initiative to sneak attack and hunt us. If Killua remembered correctly, Benotto is a wanted fugitive. Because of his tragic childhood experience, he gradually grew into a pervert, and he likes to eat women's flesh for fun. Not bad, you can actually avoid my sneak attack. Benotto has a twisted smile on his face, although he was a little surprised because of the failed sneak attack. But in the eyes of Benotto, a little devil, a little lowly, this is a toy that he can easily take out of his palm. Hey, since you can appear here, that means you are also a player of Greed Island. Have you collected any precious cards? Killua asked, looking at the game ring on Biscuit's hand. Last time, because he acted too decisively, the cards disappeared directly after the opponent died. Therefore, he lost a fortune. Killua planned to capture the opponent alive first this time. When Biscuit heard Killua's question, a trace of cunning and cruelty appeared on his face, and he chose to remain silent. Or said, in his eyes, Killua was already a corpse, and there was no need to answer at all. Don't say it. I can find it myself anyway. Speed! After saying that, Killua disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Biscuit. The speed made Biscuit's eyes freeze instantly. His pupils suddenly contracted, and his eyes were full of astonishment and disbelief. Biscuit felt as if time had stopped at this moment. He could see Killua's attack and feel everything around him, but it was as if he was frozen. The body couldn't keep up with the movement of the mind. He could only watch his two arms being broken in an instant. This was an absolute crushing speed, leaving him no chance to counterattack. Seeking flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 40. You don't regret it. You just know that you're going to die. Killua is too fast. There was a long pause. Bitnuo wailed belatedly. Take out your card collection book. Killua put his hands in his pockets, his expression indifferent, as if he was just doing something very ordinary. Beads of sweat rolled down Bitnuo's forehead, and his face turned pale due to the severe pain in his arm. He knew that if he didn't take out the card collection book, he would be in trouble with the boy's style. But if he easily took out the last trump card, he would have no chance of survival. While he was hesitating, Killua took a step forward. His momentum, which was not weak to begin with, became even more terrifying. Bitnuo's pupil shrank slightly, and he quickly said the word, "Be okay." The next moment, a card collection book emitting a mysterious light appeared in the air. Killua quickly browsed the cards inside, and his face gradually became excited. Rich, Biscuit actually has more than 30 rare cards with fixed numbers, and 84 Paladin's Jewelry D60, which is responsible for removing the bandit spell, is also among them. The only way to get this card is the national competition held in Andakaiba in January. There is only one chance to get it a year. It is obvious. Either Biscuit has been in Greed Island for at least a year, or before that, he has killed many players. However, even if Paladin's Jewelry is already in hand, Killua is not going to return to the bandit camp now. Let's go to the magic city of Macedora first. Anyway, there is the magic card, Rewind. He can go back to all the cities he has been to before at any time. What are you going to do with this person? Biscuit's eyes when looking at Killua have changed. There is no longer just excitement about a diamond in his eyes, but more respect and scrutiny. Judging from Biscuit's skills when he attacked, his strength is definitely not bad. Unfortunately, Killua's strength is even more overwhelming. Such strength far exceeded Biscuit's expectations. Anyone who dares to kill me sincerely, no matter who it is, I will treat him the way he treats me. As he said that, Killua stretched out his right hand. The veins on his fingers bulged, and his fingertips instantly became as sharp as blades. He walked forward step by step. Every step was accompanied by a heavy sense of oppression. Biscuit's body trembled constantly, and he murmured repeatedly, "Forgive me. Forgive me this time. I really know I was wrong. Please, give me a chance." For Biscuit's begging for mercy. Killua's heart did not fluctuate at all. His eyes were cold, and his right hand stabbed out like lightning, without any mercy. A heart was taken out at the speed of light, and then it was crushed directly. Underworld. It cannot be measured and restricted by the laws of conventional human society. Killua has witnessed too many deaths. He knows better than Biscuit's begging for mercy before death. It is not true regret at all. He did not regret it. He just knew that he was going to die. Killua will not be fooled by such appearances, nor will he be soft-hearted because of it. In this cruel world, compassion is a fatal weakness. This kid's attack is very sharp, and from beginning to end, his expression did not change at all. Obviously, it's not the first time he has done this. The most important thing is the exquisite heart-piercing technique just now. Biscuit said subconsciously, "You are from the Zoldyck family," can change the structure of palm nails. At the same time, at this age, a killer who can practice killing techniques to an art. Except for the world's strongest assassination family, Zoldyck. Biscuit can't think of a second possibility. It's no wonder that I have lived for more than 50 years. I have more experience than ordinary people, although I didn't intend to hide my identity. Killua sighed in his heart, jumped up to the highest stone pillar, and looked into the distance. Let's go after the rest. It's not far from Macedora now, and we will stay overnight there. Although Killua did not answer directly, but not denying his confirmation. At this moment, Biscuit finally figured out all her doubts. No wonder this kid has such amazing murderous aura, and such exquisite techniques and footwork. And judging from his talent and strength that far exceeds that of ordinary people. I'm afraid he is not just an ordinary member of the Zoldyck family. He should be the core of the next generation, or even the heir to the head of the family. How interesting. Biscuit quickened her pace and quickly followed Killua's back with a meaningful smile on her face. As for the Death Dagger Noto, she didn't even look at it. Greed Island is a very dangerous game, and it is even called a hunter-only game. Every player who comes in must be prepared to accept the loss and take responsibility for life and death. Injury and even death between players are foreseeable. And for this kind of pervert who likes to eat women, even if Killua didn't take action just now, she would use her iron fist to hammer him to death. Please give me flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 41, Magic City, Macedora. Macedora, as the only place in Greedy Island that sells magic spell cards. This city is full of tall and colorful buildings, with shining gems inlaid on the walls and mysterious runes carved on some roofs. The streets are spacious and clean. The ground is also paved with colorful bricks and stones. The whole city is like a huge dream castle. Little Killua, you go to the spell card store first. I'm going to drink tea, take a shower, and change clothes first. Don't worry about me. As soon as he arrived at Macedora, Biscuit couldn't wait to run to a tea house. After staying in the wild for a long time, coming to the city, Biscuit was in a particularly good mood and was ready to relax. Be okay. Before entering Macedora, Killua recited the spell and quickly took out the collection book. Unlike the deserts and mountains that were rarely visited before, there are relatively many players in Macedora, and defensive measures must be taken to prevent the cards from being stolen. There are 6 types of magic cards in Greedy Island: surveillance spells, intelligence spells, attack spells, defense spells, movement spells, utility spells. Among them, attack cards basically have the ability to plunder cards, and some can even directly plunder remotely, or use movement spells to escape immediately after plundering. The entire activity area of the Greed Island game is 83,450 square kilometers. If the opponent uses movement spells to escape, no matter how fast you are, you can't catch up. Personal strength is the foundation, but you want to pass the game. Understanding the 6 types of magic cards is also very important. Only by using magic cards flexibly can you collect cards safely and steadily. Otherwise, even if you have accumulated a lot, you may lose everything in an instant. That's a game. Take out 84 Paladin's Jewelry D60 that you just got from Scissorhands. Killua immediately removes it from the card form. As long as Paladin's Jewelry is worn on your body, it will continue to have the effect of reflecting magic cards. In addition, it can also break the curse and return the copied and mimicked cards to their original form. The main reason is that Paladin's Jewelry is only a D-level card. After D-carding, it can be carded again with Regeneration. Regeneration F170. It can make the props that have been D-carded carded again, limited to props below C level. As long as you have this, you don't have to worry about the cards being stolen. Wear the Paladin necklace around your neck. Killua first goes to the grocery store to sell all the monster cards in the free pocket. Then follow the sign and quickly reach the spell card store. Hello, customer. This should be your first time in the Magic City. Please let me introduce the purchase rules to you first. The shopkeeper in a magic robe introduced to Killua. The magic card pack is 10,000 rings, and there will be 3 random spell cards in it. The purchase card pack needs to be opened in the store. The purchase cards must be put into the card collection book before they can be taken out. Cards that cannot be put in will disappear when you walk out of the store. So please think about the number of packs you want to buy first and reserve some free pockets in advance. Killua listened to the shopkeeper's introduction and began to check the free pockets. The price of 10,000 rings is not bad, but because the cards that cannot be put into the card collection book will disappear when you walk out of the store, you need to carefully select the most valuable ones. Boss, give me 10 packs first. Because he went to the grocery store in advance to clear all the monster cards. Killua's free pockets are plenty. The shopkeeper smiled and nodded, and after accepting the 100,000 rings handed over by Killua, he put the 10 card packs on the counter. Opening cards is the most fun. Killua's eyes sparkled with excitement, and he couldn't wait to tear open the first card pack. 1035, firm, S10. It can prevent the cards in the specified number of pages from being snatched or destroyed forever. FK. The first card is an S card. So lucky. Unlike the 100 specified cards, magic spell cards do not have SS levels, and S levels are the most difficult to obtain. Tracking, mimicry, these two cards are also good. Finish the first pack. Without much hesitation, Killua quickly opened the second and third until the 10th pack. Killua's eyes lit up again. 1036, God's Eye S10. Really? The only two S-level spell cards? I drew them all. God's Eye. After using this card, apply the effects of Analysis and Name List to the 0 to 99 number cards until the caster leaves the game. The effect will disappear. Analysis plus list detailed information of all item cards, number of holders, and the current maximum number of cards. Be okay. Killua first draws Mime A20 and then uses a waste card to transform into the second Divine Eye. Divine Eye gained the next moment. A dense amount of information instantly appears on Killua's collection of cards. From 0 to 99, the information and number of holders of each designated card appear. As long as you don't leave the island, this effect lasts indefinitely. I can even draw this thing. My luck is simply against the sky. Arrange the cards and put them into the card collection book. Killua walked out of the spell card store with a satisfied smile. His original plan was to get the Archangel within a month and complete all the card collection activities within 3 months. Now with the blessing of God's Eye, the time for both tasks must be greatly shortened. Seeking flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Reading is fun every day on the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th, Chapter 42. Violet Biscuit. Contrasting lowly. Walk out of the spell card store. Killua found a private place to rest and began to study the next route. In the Divine Eye state, except for the designated card 000 Blessing of the Ruler, it is not within the search range. All card information and the number of holders are clearly visible. The number of times Archangel's Breath has been carded is 0. It seems that someone has monopolized it all. Collect all 40 spell cards to exchange for the SS level card. Archangel's Breath. Exclusive. This means that after someone gets a rare card, they use mimicry or copy to directly increase the maximum number of cards. This is also the biggest reason why Greed Island has been developed for 10 years, and no one has cleared it so far. In addition to the difficulty of obtaining individual cards, the main reason is that there is a limit on the number of cards. As long as others take all the rare cards, no matter how hard others try, it is impossible to collect all 100 designated cards. There are only 3 ways to solve Monopoly. The first one, trade between players. The second method, the exclusive player consumes the card and frees up the maximum number of cards. The third method, directly kill the player who exclusively the card, so that the cardholder's information and ring will disappear directly, which is equivalent to indirectly increasing the maximum number of cards. In addition to Archangel's Breath, cards such as Dark Emerald are also exclusive. The only one who can do this. I'm afraid it's only the Bomb Demon Gonshu. Killua knew very well that there was an actor in Greed Island who had been lurking in the Breakthrough Group for 5 years and secretly installed bombs on everyone. If he wanted to pass the level, he had to defeat this guy. However, Killua has not encountered Gonshu yet. At present, the main thing is to get the cards that can be collected first. Rest for a night. It was just dawn. Biscuit was already waiting in the most conspicuous place in Macedora. Seeing Killua appear, Biscuit couldn't wait to ask, "How was the store yesterday?" "I was lucky. I bought a lot of useful spell cards." "Where are we going next?" Killua opened the card collection book and used the card map. "Now the goal is to go to the next area, the gambling city. Collect all the designated cards that can be collected on the way." Biscuit was full of energy and raised his fist. "Okay, let's set off immediately." Killua put away the card collection book and glanced at every corner of the Magic City. But before that, it's better to deal with the roadblocks first. Killua and Biscuit look like two children, although there are actually quite a few children with none. But those who are suitable for fighting and have rich combat experience are almost rare. So the first time they came to Macedora, many people have already set Killua and Biscuit as hunting targets, although the two sides had no intersection before. But resources, wealth, and weakness are all original sins. And there is only one solution: to crush them with absolute strength. The stronger the better. Only in this way can we solve the problem once and for all. Just after leaving Macedora, a ray of light fell on Killua from a distance. The effect of Paladin Necklace is triggered, and the Pickpocket F-170 used by the player against you is defended. Biscuit also said immediately, "The effect of the Dark Curtain Defense card I arranged has been triggered, and someone wants to peek at my card." At the same time, several black shadows quickly chased and surrounded Killua and Biscuit. Obviously, the spell card is invalid. They plan to use real people to plunder. "You come, or I come." Killua raised his eyebrows. Biscuit moved his wrist. "You actually want to steal this girl's gem card? Give it to me." Seeing that Biscuit not only refused to surrender, but also looked aggressive, the people who surrounded him immediately laughed. "Little girl, I advise you to hand over the card obediently, so as not to suffer physical pain." But the leader hadn't finished speaking. Biscuit came to him instantly. Before the man could react, a fist had already hit his face. The next moment, there was only a bang. He was like a kite with a broken string, tumbling in the air and falling into the dark jungle in the distance. Silence. Especially silence. There was no sound around. Everyone was stunned by this sudden scene. After a long while, someone stammered, "This? How is this possible?" A few people immediately took out displacement spell cards and planned to escape from here, but at such a close distance. Before the spell was recited, it was snatched away by Biscuit. "You only rely on spells. Your physical skills are not trained, and your movements are too slow. With this little ability, you dare to rob. You really overestimate your own abilities." Biscuit punched and kicked. All the besiegers fell to the ground instantly and began to scream and groan in pain. This scene, even Killua, who was watching leisurely, couldn't help but twitch his lips. He was not shocked that Biscuit had such strong strength, but she had such a petite body and a little face, but she was so violent. The contrast was too great. "Please give me flowers, votes, and monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day on the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 43. Entering the second card stage and about to reach the final round. Solve the player's troubles. Killua starts collecting cards from Macedora. First, capture the legendary insect King White Beetle. Then save Gold Powder Girl, Sleeping Girl, Hair Fragrance Girl, and then boldly venture into the Enchanted Forest. In just 3 days, he received 18 designated pocket cards, including risk dice. Today is the competition time on the 15th day of each month in the Bounty City Andakaiba. September is a rock-paper-scissors competition because Killua and Biscuit both have strength far beyond ordinary people. There is no doubt. Both entered the finals. Little Killua, I won't let you. Biscuit shook his pink fist with confidence. Killua raised his mouth and showed a confident smile. Who will lose and who will win is still uncertain. The referee gave an order, and the game officially began. Rock, paper, scissors. Both sides made a move at the same time. Killua rock, Biscuit scissors. Killua wins the first game. Please continue. The referee raised his hand to signal. The rules of the game are to grab 5. The first person to win 5 rounds wins. Rock, paper, scissors, the second round. Killua scissors, Biscuit paper. Don't be complacent. There will be opportunities later. Biscuit snorted in dissatisfaction. However, the results were not satisfactory. Killua won again in the third and fourth rounds. So that's how it is? Although it's just ordinary rock, paper, scissors, there are also tricks to win. Looking back at the previous rounds, Biscuit analyzed. Before the start, everyone must raise their hands from a fist state. Then when swinging down, the hand will slowly take on the shape to be drawn. This is a fact that cannot be changed no matter how you hide it. In other words, this game that seems to be a game of luck is actually a game of eyesight. As long as you can see the changing gestures of the opponent's hand when it falls, 90% of the time you can win. Killua smiled without saying anything. Biscuit vowed, "Come on, I won't lose." Rock, paper, scissors. The life and death game begins. Biscuit's eyes were focused, his gaze fixed on Killua's raised right hand. "I see. He's going to play paper." Watching Killua's slightly opened right hand as his arm fell. Biscuit quickly stretched out the scissors, with a confident smile on his face, as if he was sure of victory. However, at this moment, Killua's right hand was suspended in the air, and his left hand stretched out in the form of a fist. Rock versus scissors. The referee held Killua's right hand and raised it. "The winner is out. Let's congratulate Killua for winning the September Anakaiba." Biscuit. Too cunning, he suddenly used both hands to play rock, paper, scissors at the last minute. Killua held his head with both hands and smiled. The game is to be unexpected. And don't believe everything you see. You, a teenager, actually lectured me. In terms of age, I'm several times older than you. Biscuit began to mutter in her heart again. And as they traveled together for longer and longer, she found that she could not see through Killua. Biscuit did not understand. Killua was only in his teens. How could he grow to such a terrifying level in terms of telekinesis and mind? Not only his incredible strength, at every critical moment, Killua always showed unexpected wisdom, which could not be seen with normal eyes. And there was a strong sense of power in Killua. That sense of power was different from the so-called physical strength. Killua's sense of power came from his fearless eyes and his strong aura that seemed to control everything. Although he is only in his teens, but this kid is really reliable. It was precisely because of this inability to see through that Biscuit was full of curiosity, prompting her to get to know this unique monster more deeply. Take it. At this moment, Killua used the magic card, Mimicry, to transform into the second, 83 True Sword B22. "Little Killua, you are so kind." Biscuit was very touched and looked like he was ready to marry her. He took the championship prize, 83 Sword of Truth, B22. Killua and his companions did not stop. First, he went to the mysterious bookstore to get 23 Improvisational Book B, 30 and 93 Life Picture Book B, 28. Then, with his keen insight and decision-making, he made his way through the gambling city where scams emerged one after another. In addition, he returned to the Magic City store from time to time to gamble cards. In just 7 days, Killua had accumulated 66 designated pockets. "Killua, you are amazing. You have achieved this in such a short time." Biscuit's eyes were full of admiration, and then he asked in confusion, "There are at least hundreds of players in Greed Island. But almost every time we get props, we can turn them into cards. Isn't this too weird?" Biscuit took out the 79 Rainbow Diamond, a 20 obtained from the slot machine in the casino. "Just like this card, there are only 20 in total. This game has been around for 10 years. There are so many people who came earlier than us, let alone 20. Even if they collected 200, it would not be surprising." Killua explained, "Most people don't even want to get the designated pocket card. Even if you just go from the novice plane to the Magic City Macedora, you have to work hard. And without magic cards, it's hard to move in Greed Island. Besides," Killua thought for a while, "among those who are powerful in Hunter, I am afraid that there are not many people who play games seriously. The designated pocket cards before, almost all of them are below A." Killua's eyes show sharp eyes. The second stage is Players Traded and Plunder. All readers are required to vote for all the readers. Top up 100 and get 500 VIP points. Top up now. Event time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 44. The 5-year period has arrived. Everyone, I am the bomb demon. Because of the rapid rise of Killua and Biscuit, they also quickly attracted the special attention of others. At this time, on a vast plain somewhere on Greed Island, the 3 teams of Gonshu, Shabu, and Bura were gathered together and whispered. Bura, who had long black hair and a trident-shaped mark on his forehead, was the first to break the silence and said, "Recently, it seems that a group of people has rapidly increased the number of cards within a week. This situation is not normal." Shabu, who had short red hair and squinted eyes and a peach heart mark on his forehead, had a serious expression and a hint of vigilance in his eyes. "It seems to be 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl. I saw them from a distance, once near the card store in Macedora a few days ago." Shabu recalled the scene at that time. The figures of the 2 children loomed in his mind. Gonshu was the leader of the team, with a long face and square chin, wearing glasses and thin cheeks. Gonshu asked, "How many designated cards have they collected? Are there any expensive cards?" Shabu shook his head. "I only know that they should have more than 60 cards at present, and the collection speed is very exaggerated. As for the types of cards, they have a lot of defensive means. I have no idea either." Gonshu snorted coldly, his eyes full of disdain. "What does it matter if the card collection speed is fast? Rare cards are either extremely difficult to obtain or have been monopolized by various teams. They will reach the limit when they reach 70 cards. And after all, they're just 2 little ghosts. Even if they have some strength, they don't have to be taken seriously." Gonshu analyzed calmly. "Now what we need to pay most attention to is the team of Juzi Jula, the brothers Bei La Mu, and Jiazi Shu. The cards of these 3 people are close to, or have exceeded 90. Especially Juzi Jula and Jiazi Shu.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.